won 1 year ago.
Well, you can see everybody trying to get in single file right at the first of the race. There's a lot of debris on the racetrack, a lot of sand. Trouble. Turn one.
Big crash in the center of the field, collecting 2, 3 cars as they broke away. Ooh, almost. Punched it out. The leader. In all, 10 cautions, 8 for wrecks. 73 laps under yellow a year back. And when it was all over, Jeff Burton climbed out of his car ready to sing God Bless Texas as he won his very first race. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Texas Motor Speedway. What a race we have for you today. This is the one that's been talked about for days because of the track conditions, seepage through the track. What will happen? We don't know. You're going to find out in the next 4 hours of 500 miles of competition here on this facility. We've seen all kinds of brilliant action, and yesterday it was a great moment when one of the old names in racing and a new young face came together for victory lane, and there was a very proud dad.
You know, you race quite a while before you really accomplish a lot, but he's done it in pretty good style there. It raced right up there when winning the Daytona 500, the feeling I have inside, and I'm really proud of him. And Dale Jr. just went out there and used his head. He gets a little excited sometimes on the radio, I reckon, like I used to. And but he does a good job, and he stayed cool there and run good there at the end, and beat Joe with some tires, but he had run good all day. He's racing hard, and I think he's got the points lead now, so I'm going to have to hold him down a little bit and keep him calm.
A day for the record books. Dale Earnhardt Jr., his first career Grand National victory comes at Texas Motor Speedway.
The chassis set up underneath this race car. Well, we've got a guy who never won a Winston Cup stock car race driving a chassis that's untried starting on the pole. How's that going to work out?
Well, we made it plenty adjustable, and these guys are really good. You know, we sat down yesterday and spent a lot of time, Rusty and I did together, and both teams on what we were going to run, and man, both of us got a lot of different stuff underneath our car and a lot of adjustments, so it should be an exciting day for everybody.
Well, there have been 3 stock car races here in the history of this racetrack. 2 of them have been won by men who had never before won in their respective divisions. Could be a third today. Let's go to Bill Stevens.
Well, Rusty Wallace is leading the Winston Cup chase by 1 point over his teammate Jeremy Mayfield. He's qualified 6th, but Rusty, you're competing against the racetrack today as much as the other drivers.
Yeah, just as much as everybody. It's been giving us a little bit of problem, but I just drove around it just a little while ago. The track looked really nice and clean and smooth, and we'll see what happens. We've got a hot day with no practice, and I'm sure everybody will be making adjustments today.
Well, last week the track got the better of Rusty. He only got 160 laps in and then went out. This year he's looking for some frontier justice. Right now, Ralph Shaheen is with the driver that's number 3 in Winston Cup points.
That is Jeff Gordon. He is also the only man to have won 2 races so far in 1998. But, Jeff, you start 17th today, pretty deep in the field. Will you try to make up all the ground yourself, or are you going to let your pit crew, the Rainbow Warriors, help you out on pit road?
Well, I certainly don't think I could do it on my own. It's going to take a total team effort for sure, and I'm going to rely on those guys a little bit in the pits today for sure. They've been cranking out some great pit stops. Hopefully I can help them out a little bit, though, too, and we can kind of work off of each other today.
Best of luck to you, Jeff. Ken Squire, you know, a second gained on pit road is good for at least 50 to 60 yards on the racetrack.
And track position is going to mean everything. When it was over a year ago on this track, Jeff Gordon finished 30th. Well, let's go to the folks who are going to make the call on today's race. Buddy Baker, Ned Jarrett, and Mike Joy.
Thanks, Ken, and hello, everybody. Bruton Smith has spent over $200 million here building and improving this track to make it fan-friendly. The drivers, though, still just making its acquaintance. Rains in Texas have been heavy over the last 2 months, double the norm, and that's why we have water seepage out of the track, and that's why NASCAR will throw a caution flag before 30 laps so teams can check the setups they did not have a chance to preview during happy hour yesterday afternoon. Now, Ned Jarrett, yesterday in the Busch race, we saw teams take on no tires, 2 tires.
I can also, it says something that they can look forward to do today. I think we'll see all of those scenarios sometime during the race today because track position is so important on this racetrack. They try every trick that they know to try to get up towards the front because it is a difficult racetrack to pass on. And the fact that they didn't get that last practice yesterday afternoon, which is so critical, they have unknowns under their cars, don't know exactly what they'll do. Plus,
Number 99 Ford out of the Jack Roush shops, one of 5 cars from the Jack Roush team in this field today.
I want you to watch Dale Jarrett today. His driving style suits a racetrack that you have to have patience on. He and his crew chief, they know how to set up a car for long runs. Look for Dale Jarrett today.
Another guy we can look forward to is Bobby Labonte. He ran 3rd here last year. He has won 3 out of the last 4 races at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, a track that's very similar to Texas Motor Speedway, so look for him to be up front.
But we all have the same obstacles out there, but I think just being real careful is going to be the key out there and staying out of trouble. You know, every racetrack we go to has you know, its own obstacles, and you know, this one has thrown us off for a loop. I think the lack of practice is going to be tough on us.
It'll be fine. I mean, you know, the concerns about water or this or that's not, you know, not a concern. The degree of difficulty at this racetrack is at a 10, but that is not changed much by any little bit of water or something.
If it's my preference, I'd redo the transitions to the corner. You know, coming off turn 4, the walls to me needs to be moved out a little bit where it give you a little bit more racing room. Yeah, you can race on it like it is, but it just makes it a tough facility.
But maybe we can blame this on El Nino. Really, that's what the cause of it. All the rain they've had here is just coming out of the racetrack. So, El Nino, get out of here.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
We'll be back to bring you the starting lineup. 100,000 race fans on hand for the Texas 500. It's a lazy, hazy Texas kind of day outside Fort Worth. 67 degrees. Humidity's rather high, light breeze, and just a light haze and a lot of sunshine. The asphalt's 101 degrees, and it's nearly that inside the race cars as they roll off for the first of 3 pace laps. Let's have a look at the starting lineup. Second career pole for Jeremy Mayfield, who's second in the points. Joe Nemechek, front row Joe, is right there. Row number 2, Ort Burton, 7th in this race last year with rookie Kenny Irwin. Chad Little, 3rd time in his career, a top 5 start, and Rusty Wallace, the point leader. Mark Martin, who won at Las Vegas a month ago, and Robert Presley. David Green starting in the top 10, and Gary Bradbury, a career best start. Row 6, Atlanta winner Bobby Labonte and Mike Skinner, who led 10 laps here last year. Dale Jarrett, winner at Darlington, and Rick Bass, pole sitter at Rockingham. John Andretti along with Kevin LePage in the 8th row. 2-time race winner Jeff Gordon this year with Brett Bodine. Ernie Irvin, 6th at Daytona. Ricky Rudd, 5th here last year. Sterling Marlin and teammate Wally Dallenbach in the 11th row. Jeff Burton, who got his first win here last year, and Randy LaJoie subbing for Ricky Craven. Bobby Hamilton and Kyle Petty in row number 13. Johnny Benson, 4 straight top 10s with Greg Sachs in the 14th row. 2 veterans in Fords, Jeff Bodine and Ted Musgrave. Kenny Wallace in a Ford and Ken Schrader's Chevrolet. Back in row 17, Hut Strickland and Dale Earnhardt, the Daytona winner. Darrell Waltrip made the field on time, driving Earnhardt's car for injured Steve Park, and Dave Marcus, his 2nd start this year. Provisionals, led by Terry Labonte and Bill Elliott, both former Winston Cup champions. Veterans Jimmy Spencer and Michael Waltrip forced into provisional starts, as were Dick Trickle, who crashed in qualifying, and Steve Grissom. Lake Speed had a qualifying wreck, and he takes the final provisional start.
There were 5 drivers who failed to qualify for the Texas 500, and a couple of those drivers were victims of the water that started coming up through the track when they had to postpone qualifying on Friday afternoon.
Manufacturers breakdown in the field today. There'll be 22 Ford, 16 Chevrolets, and 5 Pontiacs. And Chevrolet is leading in the manufacturers' championship.
Starting, it'll take 334 laps to cover the 500 miles. These cars can go 60 to 70 laps on a tank of fuel. That's 22 gallons. Last year, Jeff Burton, inaugural winner. A lot of caution flags, though. Average speed slowed to 125 miles per hour.
You see the cars coming through the quad oval part of this racetrack. It is 1.5 miles in length. We'll start at the start-finish line, 5 degrees of banking, go down into turn 1 and 2, 24 degrees of banking, 5 degrees down the backstretch into turn 3 and 4, where there's 24 degrees of banking, then back to 5 to the start-finish line. Trouble spots here so far have been in turn 1 with the water seepage down there. We don't expect that to be a problem here today. Turn 4, there's been some repaving done down there, so that's going to be a challenge for the drivers here today. That's a turn we'll watch.
Field warming tires and being split in two, led by the pace car at pit road speed. You're with Jeremy Mayfield, the Mobile One camera, riding along with our pole sitter today. And his teammate, Rusty Wallace, the Miller Lite camera in Wallace's Ford, starting 6th. He has a 1-point lead on Mayfield. Mark Barton in the Valvoline camera, that's inside car number 6, one of the Jack Roush Fords. Martin will start 7th. Looking ahead at teammate Chad Little there. Another of the Roush cars is Jeff Burton, the defending champion of this race. The XI Batteries camera in the car that starts 23rd for Jeff Burton. Ricky Craven on the mend. Randy LaJoy is the substitute driver for Craven. The Budweiser cam in. Where are the frogs? There's Randy LaJoy. He will start 24th today.
Okay, Louis.
Jeff Bodine starting 29th in the Phillips Ford. 29th starter. And Dale Earnhardt, Daytona 500 champion and the proudest father in Texas today. His son won yesterday. Earnhardt will start 34th. And our First Plus Financial cam rides with Bill Elliott today, former Winston Cup champion, starting in 38th position. Wallace holds a 1-point lead on Jeremy Mayfield. 4 of the top 5 in the standings, former Winston Cup champions.
And that's how they got there, was getting an early start, getting up there in the point standings early in the year.
Wallace with 5 top 5s in 6 races this year. Enviable record. Mayfield right with him. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen.
Paul Andrews is the crew chief of Jeremy Mayfield's pole-winning car. Earlier this week, his 28-year-old brother Rick, the youngest of 3, was reported missing off of the Southern California coastline. He is a boat captain. They found the boat, but not Rick. They called the search off on Wednesday. Paul Andrews is racing here today at Texas with a very, very heavy heart.
Andrews was the crew chief for Alan Kulwicki, and eerily, 5 years ago to near the day from Alan's tragic loss in a plane crash. Paul Andrews' brother is lost at sea. Field is packing up for a start. Jim Roper is on the flag stand. In 1949, he won the first sanctioned NASCAR race for what was then the strictly stock division, and it became Winston Cup. He drove his Lincoln from the Midwest to Charlotte to race it on the old dirt Charlotte Speedway, and couldn't drive it home because NASCAR tore down the engine. They had to tow it back.
And I got to see that race.
And he is on the flag stand today. It's part of NASCAR's 50th anniversary celebration. Green flag, the Texas 500 is underway. Straightaway challenge for second spot down on the inside. Ward Burton brings that Pontiac right up behind the full sitting car of Mayfield.
Here comes Ward Burton into the lead down the front straightaway.
He's the first lap.
The Bill Davis Pontiac for Burton is strong.
And trouble here in turn 1.
4 cars go slamming to the wall, and 4 more pile up behind them, reminiscent of last year's lap 1 crash.
Earnhardt's in it, Jeff Gordon's in it. Lots of race cars got banged up.
There's Hut Strickland along with Earnhardt down on the track apron, pinned to the wall. John Andretti and Rick Mast climbing out.
See Rick Mast coming out the right side of the car there. John Andretti now coming out of the car. He's undoing his radios.
Likely fuel pump breakage on Andretti's car when that car slapped the wall. Fire crews quickly on the scene. And just as in the inaugural, this racetrack takes its toll at lap 1.
And I suspect it probably started because there were cars still running side by side in that high groove. There's Ted Musgrave's car. You see a lot of damage on it. Let's see, Hut Strickland is out of his car now. You see Earnhardt moving around in his. He wants to get his car to go.
Yeah, Strickland's talking to Earnhardt, trying to give directions as Earnhardt tries to see if his car will steer. Remember at Daytona a year ago when Earnhardt flipped, got in the ambulance, got back out, got in his car, and finished the race. Darrell Waltrip comes to the pit road, and that cheer you hear from some of the crowd is because Jeff Gordon's car is torn up and coming to a halt on pit road.
A lot of damage on his Chevrolet. The only two-time winner this year, won last weekend to Bristol, Tennessee. They'll get that car repaired and get him back out there, but it'll be a long time. Dick Berggren.
Hard damage to Jeff Gordon's car. He has shut the engine off. Much of the damage is in the right front corner. Tremendous sheet metal damage up front. This is an aerodynamic track, and this is a very, very difficult way to start the race today, particularly for the guys who had hoped for championship like this one.
A Texas-sized twister in turn 1. Earnhardt's driving back to the pits.
Mike Kenny Wallace has gone to the garage area with a lot of damage. That's Darrell Waltrip with the one car, and you can see Earnhardt coming back for attention from his crew.
He had a feeling that car would still run, and it does. He wants to get it back so they can fix it, work on it, and get him back out there. He knows it won't be competitive, but he wants to make laps, get points.
Vinny, the crowd is going nuts.
A lap 1 crash will take perhaps 9 cars out. Here's who we have involved. Kenny Wallace, Kevin LePage, Hut Strickland, Dale Earnhardt, Rick Mast, John Andretti, Ted Musgrave, Darrell Waltrip, and Jeff Gordon. Now Earnhardt is going behind the wall and back to the Winston Cup garage area where the team will meet him and try to get that car back out. If he can return to the racetrack, every position he gains is going to be worth another 3 Winston Cup points.
But they can't work on the cars right now, Mike. The red flag is out. Now they can assess the damage, get themselves prepared to go to work on it, but the race has been stopped. It's red flag now. They cannot work on the cars until the cars roll again.
Good point, Ned. The cars on the front straightaway that were not involved in the incident can receive no attention from their crews, so to make it fair to all, the cars that are parked in the pit and in the garage area likewise.
Getting the back of Hut Strickland.
Earnhardt hit his own race car. Hit Darrell Waltrip. Couldn't help it, of course.
From Randy LaJoie, trying to sneak through.
Good, he spins around, hadn't hit anything yet.
And spins safely out of harm's way.
He said, whoa, boy.
Here's another look. Top of your screen.
Still, it's hard to tell what actually started it.
You can see John Andretti come up and hit Kevin LePage, and then
the yellow car of Rick Mast in the middle of the screen looked to me, Ned, to be the first car sliding up toward the wall.
It did look that way, and certainly the accident started right where he was running.
And in the garage, Larry McReynolds, Dale Earnhardt, his arm around Larry McReynolds, talking about the damage. And everyone looking under and around that car to find out what it needs.
That's exactly right. The excess and the damage, you can see them all up under there. They have every part to fix it.
Bill Stevens.
With Kenny Wallace. He's hot, he's unhappy, and may have seen how it started. Kenny?
Well, I don't know. I mean, first of all, I just can't believe this. You know, everything was fine, and the 78 car got out of shape first. I seen that. I dove clear to the bottom of the apron, and then somebody red, as you can see here, drove all up over me. And then the car's really just got artificial damage here, but they won't let us work on the car because it's under red condition. I don't know. You know, I'll let everybody else talk about the racetrack, but I can't believe it. The Busch guys ran great all day yesterday. We can't even make it one lap, but Square D's a great sponsor. Mobile One, I just want to get them in there. I'm sorry, brother. My guys are going to work hard, and we'll get this car out there.
With all the talk about crashing, guys, it's almost self-fulfilling prophecy. Back to you.
Saw Eddie DeHaan, their team manager, rolling a tire into position for Kenny Wallace. 78 was Gary Bradbury, and he may have been low on the apron as that incident started. Perhaps we'll have another look. We'll be back to Texas. We're under the red flag. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. 2 laps have been complete. The first under green, the second caution for an accident that's involved nearly a dozen cars down in turn 1, very reminiscent of the start of this race last year. Involved Darrell Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt, Hut Strickland, Ted Musgrave, Jeff Gordon, Ernie Irvan, John Andretti, Rick Mast, Kenny Wallace, Kevin LePage were all involved. And this accident may have been triggered by Gary Bradbury's car shooting across the track and way down low on the apron. Let's go back and have another look here.
You see Kenny Wallace down on the inside there. We're going to see some 3 wide racing, but this is not the cause of the accident. As we see, Kenny Wallace backs out there, and we're going a little bit further around the track.
As the camera picks up turn 1, watch a car down on the apron.
See the car that went out of your screen down on the apron, that was Gary Bradbury. Mike, when he came off of turn 4 coming around for the first lap to finish the first lap, he was very high. I noticed that he was not able to get back down coming off of turn 4, and then by the time he got to turn 1, he had got down on the inside of the track and really went down on the apron of the racetrack going into that. So whether that's spawned this whole thing, I don't know.
No, let's show you what Jeff Burton saw with the windshield of his number 99 Ford. Will ride with the defending champion of this race. Well, you saw Bradbury down to the apron just before contact was made, so he was not a part of the contact. We don't know if he was a part of the cause.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he was not part of the contact. You're right. He was down out of the way, but whether somebody reacted behind him because of where he was going, thinking he might spin back up on the track. Most of the time you go down on the flat part of the racetrack, you're going to come back up on the banking, but he didn't. He stayed down there, and whether they thought he was coming back, I don't know.
You saw Rick Mast's car on the wrecker. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen. He is caught up with the Daytona 500 winner, Dale Earnhardt.
Dale, can you tell me what happened out there?
Well, I seen the 75 car spinning up front of us, and I sort of checked up. Well, everybody was in front checking it, and they all got to wrecking. Well, I went to the high side, which I thought I could clear part of it, but I knew the 75 was up there somewhere. But when I went to the high side, they started coming back across the track. The 8 car got me in the door, drove the rear end and the car into the wall backwards. So we just got hung up in it. I don't know what happened with the 75, but somebody looked like spun him or got into him, and it's just a big wreck from then. Everybody was every man for himself.
How bad is your car? Can you get back out?
It's pretty bad frame damage on the rear. We're gonna work and do our best to get it back out. We got a little damage on the front, but most of the damage is on the rear.
Thanks, Dale. Get to work.
Kevin LePage's car being hauled back to the garage. Here's Bill Stevens.
With another driver who got all too good a look at what happened, Ted Musgrave. And Ted, you think it was the racing surface pretty much not responsible for this?
Well, I don't think it was the water. I'm not really sure, but I don't think it was any water down there. It just said there's only one groove. You know, you get out of that preferred groove right on the bottom, and there's nothing out there to hold the car. And I'm not quite sure. It could be a replay of last year. I didn't see anything that, you know, I haven't seen any TV. One guy might have just been trying to get down in that groove, you know, and got tapped and turned around. And like I say, there's nowhere to escape here because you get out of that groove and the car just takes off anyway. And that's kind of what happened to Earnhardt and I. We went up to try and avoid it around the outside up on the top, but once you get up out of the groove, you know, there's nothing there to make the car stick to get turned back down around an accident. I was going where Dale was going, and that's how we ended up. But hey, if you turn around, that Prime Star team's going to get this thing back out, and I'll guarantee you we're going to be out there for points.
And they were luckier last year when that first lap crash happened. It all was behind them. Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Dale Earnhardt is out. Dale Earnhardt's car is out. Darrell Waltrip driving the Pennzoil car. What happened to you?
I don't really know. I told the guys on the radio when we started the race there, I said, boy, that first turn looks slick. You could tell there'd been, you know, some work going on down there. And I guess that's probably what started everything. I was behind Hutt over here, and he checked up because he saw people wrecking, and I got into the back of him, and then others hit me after that. But, you know, it's a beautiful sunny day. To think that we're all in the garage wrecked like this, the car count here, the torn-up car count here is an insurmountable. I've never seen so many torn-up race cars from one weekend. You take the Busch cars, the Winston Cup cars, and now this. We've torn up, I'd say, over 30 cars here this weekend. It's that. What do they have? A massacre down here somewhere. I forget what it was called. And we're having
the Alamo.
The Alamo. That's what it was. Yeah. Well, this is about like the Alamo, and I don't know who's going to win. My car may not look too bad before this day's over with.
Ken Squire.
Well, in all, Derek, some 35 cars, Darrell, have been collected out here. Red flag is out around the track. Lap number 1. Let's take a look not only at this year, but at last year. Now, last year, Darrell Waltrip was instrumental in that wreck. That's where it started. This was lap 1, and 13 cars were collected right there in turn 1 where it happened again this year. Among those, Bobby Hamilton, who also got hammered again this year.
It's a shame, you know, because, you know, the teams, the Skittles, Pontiac, they've worked so hard to, you know, get a good race car for here. We had a decent qualifying run and really felt like we had a good car. And, you know, just we don't get to show it today.
What did you see from where you were?
Well, I mean, you know, all I can tell you is the 78 car was up on the outside. Everybody else was kind of single file in front of me. And 78 was up on the outside, and he was obviously trying to come down. And that kind of bunched everybody up and got everybody running into each other.
It's pretty bad.
It's a bad deal. You know, it's definitely a bad deal.
To Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Rick Mast, you're out of the race, and you had more than one problem. First a crash and then a fire. What happened?
You know, you got a one-groove racetrack, man, and you get hung up on the outside, you try to get down. Well, coming off through 3 and 4, the 78 car was still hung on the outside. And then when we come through the trioval or whatever, I looked up, I saw the 78 get crossed up. I mean, I don't know what caused that. Gary's a very good race car driver. I mean, you know, those things happen. And so the cars around me, in front of me, eased up. I got out of the gas and eased up. The 43 behind me eased up. Everything was going to be good. And somebody ran over the 43, hit him hard. It knocked him into me. It turned me around. Then it was just on. You know what I mean?
Rick, those of us that drive on the highway, we've driven in bumper-to-bumper traffic. We've gone more than we should in speed-wise. And we see the Busch cars get through their start. How come this didn't? What is a driver on the street am I missing?
I don't have a clue, man. I mean, I know one thing. I'm glad NASCAR is my sanctioned body. When you start hitting these walls like this for safety, you think, man, I'm glad it's NASCAR I'm working for. But I don't know. These things happen. I mean, again, it's a one-groove racetrack. It's a very tough track. I mean, it's very demanding, and you know, we've all complained about it, but that didn't have anything to do with the wreck. You know what I mean? These things happen. Like I say, when the 78 car got crossed up, and again, Gary's a very good race car driver. I don't know who got into him, what caused that. But when that happened, when you have a wreck at any racetrack, I don't care if you're at Texas or Daytona or Martinsville, the first lap or second lap of the race, if somebody towards the front gets crossed up, it's going to be a big mess, you know, and it happened here. Just luckily, thankfully, everybody survived. Everybody's okay. And, you know, my Remington Bullet's a little mangled right now, but we'll get him at Martinsville.
Mike Joy.
And John Andretti's car also catching flame. They have washed down that area so as not to damage the asphalt.
And the reason for that is that's a foam that you see on the top part there, and they have to wash that down. It's very slick.
A little bit of speedy dry down at the lower part of the racetrack and up top. Once again, Dale Earnhardt's view as he rolled off into turn number 1 to start the second lap of this race.
Wow, that hurts.
Continues. Now, this is from the accident, not from any water seepage. They want to make sure this track is clean before we go back to green. We'll be right back. Welcome back to CBS live coverage of the Texas 500 under the red flag. And I misspoke a moment ago. When Jeff Gordon got into Rick Mast, it was his mast was going up toward the wall. Look at the right corner of your screen.
There's Bradbury right there. You watch him, he's back straight right now. He goes down on the apron, gets sideways, and everybody behind him starts checking up, and there's contact right there.
It's John Andretti into the back of Rick Mast as everyone tried to slow up there. As Mast went up toward the wall, he collected the nose of Jeff Gordon's car. And a total of 10 cars are involved. Darrell Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt, Hutch Strickland, Ted Musgrave, Gordon, Ernie Irvin, Andretti, Mast, Kenny Wallace, and Kevin LePage.
And actually, motor fire up. They've had to spread speedy dry here on pit road because so many of the cars have been leaking fluid as they have been towed back to the garage area. That has about been cleaned up. Pit road looks good right now. But I'll tell you what, Mike, those drivers in the cars are hot. Those cars have been sitting still on pit road. There's very little air moving. They are sitting in cars, many of which have black interiors, and I'll bet they're sucking the water right now.
And, Dick, they're all windshield facing the sun right now. One of the drivers injured in a crash here last year, Ricky Craven, is now sidelined with post-concussion syndrome from that and other accidents last season. Ken Squire sat down with Craven to get an update on his condition.
NASCAR's 50th anniversary, CBS Sports coverage of the Texas 500.
They are fired off the cars, and those that can begin to roll.
Mike, there's 33 cars still on the track, 9 in the garage and 1 on the pit road. Jeff Gordon, they're working on the cars as we speak.
Ralph Shaheen?
Paul Andrews is a crew chief for Jeremy Mayfield. Paul, they've started the engines. What have you said to your driver?
Well, you know, we're a little loose there at the beginning, or not really loose, just had no control over the whole car. Like the track was real dirty. We're pretty sure that was the problem. You know, we're not really concerned about the car, but yeah, we got to make it through the first few laps, get a little rubber down, try to get this, get the car handled good, and get the track cleaned off. But that's the main thing. We got to get some laps under everybody's belt here without any caution, so we can all have a real good rest of the race.
To Bill Stevens.
I'm with Jack Roush. Jack Roush with 5 cars in the starting field. All in all, you're pretty lucky.
Yeah, we were pretty lucky. The Ted Musgrave's Prime Star car got caught up in it. It's got the front snout bent. It's going to be hard to get it back, but the other 4 cars got through clean.
A lucky break for the guy who has pretty much defined the multi-car team in NASCAR.
And from pit road, Jeff Gordon rolls out. Look at that mess. But he can drive it.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do, though. You can see it's running sideways. That means the rear end house is turned away from the front tires, so it's not tracking at all. It's turned sideways going down into the corner there. You can see it.
Now, Gordon wants to stay on the same lap with the leader. That's why they left the pits before repairs were completed. As they roll around under caution, he will come back in. Here's Terry Labonte in for a change of tires.
A lot of cars on pit road right now.
That's a very smart thing to do if you run through a wreck of that size. And Terry Labonte was in the back of the field there. He feels he run over a lot of metal. He's making a pit stop now to change the tires.
From bottom to top, Lake Speed. The next red car is Randy LaJoy, who spun. Kenny Schrader is in. Here comes Labonte out. Michael Waltrip, Bill Elliott, Steve Grissom, Dick Trickle, Dave Marcus, Jimmy Spencer have all made pit stops on this lap.
Mike, the easiest way to say that, anybody that was behind the wreck when it started, come in the pits.
You're right.
As you say, that was very smart.
There is LaJoy. Now, his car, they're working on that front valance, the front spoiler. When he spun down from the 24-degree banking to the flat apron, that spoiler may have gotten bent under, adding lift to the nose, which LaJoy does not want.
But not a scratch on the race car itself. The sheet metal's in very good shape.
Jeff Gordon has taken his car to the garage after 1 lap. Don't be surprised to see him back out later in the day. In 1960 at Daytona in the modified sportsman race, Canadian Dick Foley looped his car, and behind him 37 cars piled up. Foley was not one of them. He went on to finish 10th in that race. That was NASCAR's biggest crash. Ward Burton is your leader. Joe Nemechek started second, is running there. Kenny Irwin Jr., that's the black car, number 28, is third. The rookie, right behind him, Jeremy Mayfield, 4 top 5s in 6 races for Mayfield, just 1 championship point behind his teammate at the top of the standings. Right behind Mayfield is Rusty Wallace in 5th place, the point leader. There's a look at Wallace. Those 2 cars are painted identically. Only the decals are different between Mayfield and Wallace.
Sometimes they're hard to distinguish.
A lot of times it looks like one car out there because usually when you see one, the other one's very, very close.
That big red Pegasus on the side of Mayfield's car, the prime distinguishing mark between that and Rusty Wallace's. Now, Wallace's number 2 car is owned by Penske South. That's a triumvirate of Roger Penske, Rusty Wallace, and Don Miller. The 12 car of Mayfield is owned by Michael Krenefus and Roger Penske, who bought out Krenefus's original partner, Chicago businessman Carl Haas. So they are teammates in the sense of the word until you look at the title of the car, I guess.
Yeah, sort of like brother-in-law, I guess. Or I don't know.
I think you're right. And right behind them is Chad Little in 6th place. 7th, Robert Presley. 8th, Mark Martin. 9th is Mike Skinner. And 10th is Bobby Labonte. Then Dale Jarrett, Ricky Rudd, Sterling Marlin, Wally Dallenbach. Gary Bradbury, whose car went down to the apron and may have triggered the accident, remains on the lead lap in 15th. Brett Bodine is 16th. Jeff Burton is 17th. Bobby Hamilton, Kyle Petty, Johnny Benson, the top 20. Rusty Wallace, champion in '89, looking to repeat some 9 years later. 5 top 5s in 6 starts. What a way to get the season started. Remember, prior to this year, he had never finished, I think, in the top 10 at Daytona, much less the top 5. And always started the season behind in the point chase. This year, he starts way up front.
Well, he's had a great year so far. Consistency. Of course, he had an engine problem last weekend at Bristol, Tennessee, which hurt him, but he did hold on to the point lead, even though it was just a 1-point lead coming into this race.
5th at Daytona, 2nd at Rockingham, 3rd at Las Vegas, 4th Atlanta, 3rd at Darlington. Getting set for a restart, we go back under green in Texas. Ward Burton brings them down.
Well, it's single file this time, Mike. It was double file when we started before.
The field was strung out the length of the front straightaway. Good, clean restart.
Yeah, they're going to be racing pretty careful here now. Well, Mark Martin back there. No, that's Sterling Marlin, car number 40, went around with the...
Well, it's Pontiac, Chevrolet, and Ford right now as they come around here.
And that was Sterling Marlin that passed Ricky Rudd going into turn 3, took over the 12th position.
At the front, Ward Burton and Pontiac. 2nd, Joe Nemechek in Chevrolet. 3rd, Kenny Irwin in Ford. Buddy Baker said at the top of the show he thinks NASCAR's achieved parity between the 3 makes.
I think you have. I mean, the Pontiac won in Atlanta, and that's a sister tractor here. And this single file is beginning to get a little ragged looking. As you see Dale Jarrett making a move on Bobby Labonte down into turn 1. Just under him there, Sterling Marlin's looking to the inside.
And that was the race-winning pass yesterday. Get underneath the car coming off turn 4.
I think Bobby Labonte's car is pushing up just a little bit coming out of the turn, and so he's not going to fight him too much right now. He just wants to ride, get him a good place to ride here, and hopefully keep that car somewhere up in the top 15 or 20.
After a 33-minute red flag for a 10-car crash on lap 2. We're back under green with live coverage on CBS. Ward Burton in front of Joe Nemechek, Kenny Irwin, Jeremy Mayfield, and Rusty Wallace.
You can see Chad Little look there trying to get up under Rusty Wallace, and Rusty said, I'll have none of that right now. So he closed the door on him getting towards turn 3.
You're looking back. The world's fastest tractor. There's Chad Little down to the inside. He's going for Wallace, or rather going for Irwin, turn 1.
And that was Robert Presley in the 77 getting under Rusty. You can see Rusty dropping back. He knows better than to push the issue.
Yeah, he knows he's not going to get the traction up there. He might lose another position. Dale Jarrett's got a run on him coming down into turn 3, and Rusty backs off very wisely.
Jeremy Mayfield, meanwhile, moves up to 3rd. He has passed Kenny Irwin. There's Mike Skinner in 31, letting Rusty Wallace.
Well, keep in mind, there is a mandatory yellow flag on the 30th lap here, so there's no point. If the car's a little bit off, there's no point in doing something silly right now.
NASCAR indicated because last hour of practice yesterday was called off due to seepage in the track. They will have a caution sometime in the first 30 laps.
Ned, did you see that telemetry? 190 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway there. 180 already, and they're just starting into the quad oval here.
First Plus Financial telemetry.
Almost 200 miles an hour that time.
Off turn 2, back to the back straightaway. Nemechek towing Jeremy Mayfield, the pole sitter.
There he hits almost 200 again before he backs off at over 8,000 RPMs.
Nemechek's car a little wiggly there, buddy.
I guarantee you they're all wiggling a little bit, but you have to remember at 200 miles an hour, you can see right there, right at 200 miles an hour, going into turn 1, right on the bottom of the racetrack, you can see Joe Nemechek in the 42 there. The back starts to jump.
And here comes Mayfield.
He's looking down on the inside. Nemechek will have to back off going into the turn, and he does. So Mayfield makes the pass, takes over second.
Well, even though they are going to stop on the 30th lap for a mandatory stop, Jeremy Mayfield is second in the points. He would like to get up there and get a 5-point bonus for leading this race.
Ward Burton has led every lap. There is the gap that he has because second place has been battling.
He's opened himself up a pretty good lead. Of course, that happens a lot of times when we see passes, as we have seen here in the last few laps for that second place.
So now with Mayfield in second, we'll see if he can run down Ward Burton. Last lap, it was 0.8 of a second the gap. It stays constant. Dick Berggren.
We were talking a moment ago about Joe Nemechek's car being a little bit loose. That is the problem he has fought since he has come here. Ironically, that Busch Grand National car that he ran yesterday had exactly the opposite problem. It wanted to push in the turns, so he wasn't able to transfer a whole lot of what he got there to today's race car. Finished third yesterday in that race, running third today, Mike.
Front row Joe. That bright blue car with the rainbow over the sides of the hood is Nemechek. Right behind him, Kenny Irwin Jr. and Chad Little.
Just behind him, Robert Presley in the 77 there. He's really trying to make a move towards the front. He's made 2 or 3 looks there at Chad Little on the inside. Couldn't make the pass.
He's running in 6th place. Chad Little running in 5th.
Okay, this is an animation that we have to show you what push is. You notice the front of the car is not getting traction. It goes up the racetrack. That's push. Now, when you hear loose, it's just the opposite. The back of the car loses traction and goes up towards the outside of the racetrack. This is loose, or you could call this a wreck. If you ever get this loose, you're in big trouble. But down in the corner, you can see the back of the car losing traction, going up towards the outside wall. That's big trouble right there.
Something you hope to never experience in your street car.
Big Chad Little in the green, number 97, taking a look at Kenny Irwin Jr. in car number 28.
And Robert Presley, who's had a lot of success in the Busch Grand National Series, not all that much in Winston Cup, is in that 77 car with his best start of the year, 8th. Trying to move forward. Mark Martin's in the picture on the right side of your screen, and expect him to be in the thick of the battle all day.
He's 7th.
You're in the 7th place car of Mark Martin.
And they're running right against the apron of the racetrack. Look how close to the yellow line. That divides the flat part of this racetrack to the 24-degree banking in the corner.
Of course, they get pretty close to the wall when they come out of the turn. Of course, when they start into turn 3, then they widen out and dip right back down there to the inside again.
There's one of the bumps there. You can see the back of the car go down as it went through the bumps through the middle of turn 4 up there. That's one thing that the drivers have complained about this week, is that radical bump in turn 4.
While we're riding Mark Martin, Jeremy Mayfield is chasing down that big lead that Ward Burton had, is closing up.
Let's go to Ralph Shaheen for an update on Jeff Gordon.
As you can see, the crew is working feverishly on the rear end of the car. They're just about set to put this entire rear end underneath the car. This is it. It's all set to go. Here are the truck arms. This will connect to the frame. The springs will sit right on top of this. A complete rear end all set to go. As soon as they get the old one out, it's all unbolted. Here it comes. They'll slide this in 5 more minutes. The rear end will be in.
That's speedy service. The part, either the rear end or one of those trailing arms was bent. That's why they had to replace it.
Mike, this is what Ned was talking about just a second ago. Jeremy Mayfield is down to about 4 car lengths on our leader, Ward Burton.
Till today, Ward Burton had only led 5 laps all season, those coming at Las Vegas. He's led every one of the 22 that we've completed so far. See Burton's car moving up the racetrack just a little.
He's beginning to get a little ill effects from running so hard right at the first, and Jeremy was kind of back in the pack there. He didn't cook his tires quite as much. They're a little bit cooler. Jeremy's moving right in on him.
Martin had a notion to try to move on the inside of Robert Preston, but thought better of it as he went into turn 3.
And we're going to have a battle for the lead because Mayfield has caught race leader Ward Burton. Right there. Burton's car owner Bill Davis and his wife Gail came out here on their motorcycles. Rode their BMWs from North Carolina out to Texas with the Kyle Pettys. Had a great time.
You can see Jeremy Mayfield's hands pretty steady getting in the corner, but he's really giving her a left-hand turn right there, right down on the bottom of the racetrack as he chases Ward Burton off turn 4.
23 laps complete. The promised caution flag, NASCAR indicates, will come out by lap 30. If there is not a caution flag prior to that for an incident, so that the teams can check the setups they put under these cars without benefit of the last hour's practice yesterday afternoon, curtailed due to water seepage in the track. There is the gap. Mayfield has been within 0.2 of a second of Burton, who has led every lap in car 22.
Whoa, you can see Jeremy Mayfield get very sideways off turn 4 just then. Good catch on his part.
He drops to half a second behind Burton just on that one slide.
And a lap ago, Mark Martin did move around Robert Presley and took over the 6th position.
And there's Martin looking at his Roush Racing stablemate, Chad Little, in the green car. Ahead of Little, Kenny Irwin in 4th, Joe Nemechek 3rd, Mayfield and Burton the leader. Mark looking way low, and Little giving him a little room down there.
Yeah, he's giving him room, but he's got to get up there where he hears him. He's not going to just pull over and let him go.
.26 laps complete. Here is the race from 4th on back. From left to right, that's Irwin, then the green car of Little, then Martin and Presley. Dale Jarrett gaining on that group, as is Jeff Burton.
That is an absolute Ford Taurus parade right there. Every one of those cars are Ford Tauruses.
And I think they're just sitting there riding, not taking any unnecessary chances. They're being held up a little bit, I think, some of these cars, as Mayfield dashes into the lead.
He went by Ward Burton like Ward and climbed on the brake.
I believe he did at least let off the gas.
Jeremy Mayfield, the pole sitter, to lead a lap and pick up 5 bonus points.
And now, you know, technically that puts him ahead of Rusty Wallace in the points.
Correct. By 4 points.
Yeah, it's just one behind coming into the race.
Now I guarantee you they're on the radio for Jeremy Mayfield saying, hey, you've got the lead. There's going to be a mandatory caution. Be very, very careful. You have a great car.
Coming around to complete lap 29.
Mark Martin still with a look at Chad Little. Nothing there. There's your leader, Mayfield. Burton now in 2nd in the Pontiac. A long gap back to Nemechek Chevrolet 3rd. Irwin 4th. Little 5th. Martin 6th. Presley, Jarrett, Jeff Burton, and Wallace. And the caution will wave this time on race leader Jeremy Mayfield. This is the caution that NASCAR promised the teams at 30 laps to have a chance to check their setups under the car, see how tires are wearing, because there was no practice yesterday afternoon after the Busch Grand National race.
And this is not an uncommon thing, Mike. We've seen it many times in NASCAR Winston Cup racing because of certain circumstances, no practice because of weather, whatever the case might be. NASCAR will allow to come in, check their setups, as you said, see how that tire, you can tell a lot about the chassis on how the tires are wearing.
You cannot have a practice session that will tell you what race conditions are any better than this.
So at 31 laps, we're under caution. Interesting that Jeremy Mayfield said that he and Rusty Wallace have completely different setups under their cars. They trade a lot of information and seem to drive a similar style and sometimes like the same setup. Guess not today.
But he said that they built a lot into the chassis that would make it adjustable. They put rubbers in the springs that are removable, and of course they can put others in there to make the springs stronger. Of course they can make sway bar, track bar adjustments. There's a lot of things that they can do to adjusting the car.
You're in Rusty Wallace, as everyone.
Here comes your leaders down pit road.
I think every car on the field will come in now. Pace car is going to be lonely out there. He's going to be out there by himself. But it won't be for long because they'll make about 17 to 20 second pit stops.
You're on board Jeff Bodine, looking ahead at Bobby Hamilton. Here's Ralph.
Now the leader, Jeremy Mayfield, is in. Believe it or not, guys, he is a little bit loose when he is out in front of a car and a little tight when he's running behind him. So they're going to try to tighten him up just a little bit. They'll do that by taking out one round of wedge and lowering the track bar. They're also taking out one strip of tape to help cool down the engine. He is back underway.
He will not be the leader coming off pit road. 2 cars beat him out, and 3 cars were on pit road abreast before they sorted out Irwin, Labonte, and Ward Burton. The second group there.
Yeah, Mark Martin got out first. David Green got out right behind him. Apparently they only took on 2 tires. They've not run very long here, and we talked about that at the top of the show, that we might see some of that just to get track position. And I think that's what happened with those 2 cars at least.
Pace car picks up the leaders. Chad Little up there behind Mark Martin. Here's Dick Burton.
15.77 from Ward Burton. That was a good pit stop. Rusty Wallace, on the other hand, had a very slow pit stop. The problem, they tried to adjust the chassis by removing one of the spring rubbers. That slowed him down. Then, just as he was ready to leave the pits, 2 of the crew members from Robert Presley's pit, who had been working right in front of him, were in front of Rusty as he tried to leave. Rusty had to back out of the throttle, and as a result, he had a perfectly miserable pit stop.
Like I said, it was David Green that came out second with Chad Little, who came out second in the car number 97.
There he is behind Mark Martin.
And I think they're wondering, did I beat you across that line down at the end of pit road? Which one? They're sort of, Chad sort of staying up there beside him as if, I think I beat you.
Now, this is interesting from a strategy standpoint. Jack Roush has 5 cars in this race. Did he have 2 cars take 2 tires and 3 cars take 4 tires? We'll be right back to Texas Motor Speedway. On only 2 tires, Labonte is in 5th place. And that's what you spoke of at the top of the show. Drivers and teams would use strategy in the pits to get up front.
Boy, it really paid off for him.
Look at Mark Martin going for the lead, Ned. Down the back straightaway, down towards turn 3. Chad pulled up there and lets him go. Look at Jeremy Mayfield moving in the 12 car.
Mark Martin leads for the first time today.
Those are 5 bonus points for him.
Yep, Chad Little already picked up his 5. So his Roush Racing teammate Martin to the front.
Terry Labonte is moving back a little bit. I don't know if those 2 tires or what the situation was, but anyway, he was moving back, and here's Mayfield going for second.
And getting it. Yeah, we haven't seen too many drivers on the outside going into turn 3. Stuff it in there 2 abreast.
No, they're not that brave yet.
But he'll let change as the day goes on.
Oh, yeah, they'll get a little more racy, but right now everybody realizes this is the actual start of the race. Everybody knows what to do. They made their adjustments. They have their cars set up like you want them now.
Trouble on Jeff Bodine as he comes to pit road under green.
Certainly an unscheduled pit stop. Must have had a flat.
Phillips in car cam, and they put tires right sides on Bodine's car, send it back out. He'll lose a lap. Jeremy Mayfield, pole sitter, and that Penske Chronopus number 12 out front. As we'll get a tack reading on Bodine. First Plus Financial Telemetry. Bodine re-enters the track back straightaway. And it'll take him a lap to get fully up to speed. But Buddy, he's kind of lonesome out there.
You bet. You right now, when you have to make an unscheduled stop, like Terry Labonte is just falling back through the field, as Ned noticed just a little while ago. The two tires, I don't know whether that had anything to do with it or whether he has a motor problem, but he is dropping back through the field.
It was a good gamble, but he's dropped from 5th to 31st since the restart. And well, he might pit. He's going to stay out another lap at least.
Yeah, that car didn't feel right to him. And once he got on that outside, he couldn't get back down. He just stayed out there and let most of the field go by.
Ned, explain how the handling changes when you take only 2 tires.
If you have a car, we talked about pushing a little bit ago. If you have a car that's very tight coming off of the corners, as we see Dave Marcus going by there now, the front end wants to push up towards the wall. Now, if you only put on 2 tires, that'll loosen up those left side tires a little bit and will make the car freer going through the turn.
Also, new tires don't have the air buildup in them, and it really changes the way the car feels to you. A lot of times you'll feel like you have a tire problem.
With more on tires, Ralph Shaheen.
Gentlemen, this is the right rear tire that just came off of Jeremy Mayfield's car. Now, the depth readings are taken in here. 3/32 of an inch is what they normally are. The right rear is 2.5 all the way across. That is good tire wear here at Texas today.
And he's up front. The car, whatever they guessed on that chassis, has worked out well.
Tires.
Dick Berggren.
Yeah, we're talking about tire strategy, Mike. Interesting, last day, Mark Green did a pit stop and took no tires. The Goodyear engineers put their stopwatches on him. 50 laps later, he was running the same speed. It didn't drop off at all. And everybody else around here saw it as well. And we're going to see some very interesting pit stop strategy. Some of it has unfolded already. Chad Little in the 97 only took 2 tires on that first pit stop. So far, at least, Roush's drivers and teams are all operating independently as to what they do. 2 tires, 4 tires, or no tires.
Well, thanks, Dick. That answered my question. No team orders. Each of those 4 Roush teams left in the race on their own. Here's one of them. You're riding with Jeff Burton.
Last year's winner, Jeff Burton, is really coming up through the field. You can look right in front there. His strong suit is off the corner. He'll take a look to the inside, most likely right there on Kenny Irwin Jr., trying to make that move going into 1. Didn't quite have the mustard to get it done just then.
I think he's faster than Kenny is right now, especially through the turns. We'll watch him come off of turn 2, and you can see him pull right up on the back bumper of Kenny Irwin. But that Robert Yates horsepower in that 28 car is tough to beat down the straightaway.
Jeff Burton, a first-time Winston Cup winner here 1 year ago, right up there, really getting off the corner well.
The other thing that happens when you know it's a 1-groove racetrack, you can see Kenny Irwin just pull over and let him go. He looked in the mirror and watched him come up on him in the middle part of the corner and realized he was just holding him up at this point of the race.
Dale Jarrett, Irwin's teammate, in the car now behind him as Jeff Burton pulls away. Burton now in 4th place rather, behind Mayfield, Mark Martin, and Chad Little.
He started 23rd, Jeff Burton did, so he has made a great run up through the field.
Mark Martin, 2nd place car, turn 2 condominiums there. Mark's got a good view of those. There was one on the front page of the real estate section in today's paper, 625,000. But hurry, there's only 6 left.
I think I'll get them all 6 and just hold them up here.
Rusty Wallace right behind David Green. Chevrolet number 96. And that's back at 18th position. As you heard, Wallace did not have a fast pit stop and is trying to work his way back up through. He was running in 10th, but Wallace came out 20th after his pit stop. He's gained back 1 position.
That's unusual for him. Most of the time it's the other way around, that he gains in the pits, but as they said, he was trying to make an adjustment on the car.
Got a plenty fast car down the straightaway. You can see David Green just in front of him there in the 96 car. He really catches him down the straightaway, but getting in the corner, he loses just a little bit in 1 and 2, but at 3 and 4, he's holding right in there.
And Jeff Bodine, as we said, made that unscheduled pit stop for 2 right side tires. He's fallen 2 laps down. And he is kind of lonesome George out there.
Yeah, he's out there by himself. Going into turn 1 as the leader of the race, Jeremy Mayfield comes off of turn 4.
I was just fixing to say, Jeremy Mayfield's doing about the same thing. He's riding out there all by himself, too.
Mayfield currently enjoys a 1.2-second lead on Mark Martin. Jeff Burton another 0.8 of a second back. Another half-second to Chad Little. Then Kenny Irwin, Dale Jarrett. Ted Musgrave back in the race after that lap 2 crash. There is the gap. First to second. Over the tunnel at turns 1 and 2. Just about 1 1/4 seconds. Randy LaJoie chasing Johnny Benson for 25th position. These are all lead lap cars. LaJoie spun in that turn 2 crash, but did not hit anything. They had to make repairs to his spoiler, and that's put him to the back of the field. Had a good outing in yesterday's Busch Grand National race. Started last and finished on the lead lap in 6th, gaining some more championship points. They passed Musgrave's damaged car there at the inside.
You don't realize how fast they are until you see a car that's off the pace a little bit, like Musgrave was down that front straightaway. They went by him. It looked like something sitting still there.
That's Wally Dallenbach, the green and black car, just ahead of Johnny Benson. Benson has had a great season since missing the Daytona 500. That yellow car just ahead there. Johnny Benson has reeled off 2 top 5s and 2 more top 10s since Daytona. CBS Sports live coverage of the Texas 500 will continue after this. 4 miles complete here in the Texas 500. Taurus in astrology is the sign of the bull, and they're on a stampede here in Texas. The first 7 spots are Ford Tauruses. Mayfield, Jeff Burton, Mark Martin, Chad Little, Kenny Irwin, Dale Jarrett, and Robert Presley. Ward Burton's Pontiac is the first GM car in 8th, followed by Joe Nemechek's Chevy and that of Kyle Petty.
Well, we talked about the domination of the top 10 finishes by the Taurus, and it might be back to the wind tunnel.
Dale Jarrett has passed Robert Presley.
Now, Presley has called up to Jarrett. Presley just passed Ward Burton a moment ago to take over the 7th position, and he's called up to Jarrett and Kenny Irwin there, who have been racing for position for some time now.
Irwin is 5th, Jarrett in 6th, and Presley in 7th, and they're going to pull inside of Ted Musgrave, number 16.
That's the way they'd rather do it. Pass on the inside, much easier down there. Jeff Gordon coming back out of the garage area now.
It's a loud reception from the fans. Some cheers, some not. Gordon returns to the racetrack after 34 minutes in the garage. He comes out onto the track in 35th position.
That is a testament for a great crew. That car was torn up beyond belief, and they have repaired it where it does not look all that bad now.
Bill Stevens?
Well, as you saw after that first pit stop, Terry Labonte jumped into the top 10 and started drifting backwards. At first, they thought that the 2 tires they put on were bad. They had 2 more ready to go, but they left them out because Terry radioed to crew chief Andy Graves saying, I think I got a loose tie rod or a broken shock. We're going to leave him out till the next pit stop, and if they can fix it, they will, but at least for now, he's going to hold his own.
96 and 1984 Winston Cup champion. Terry Labonte, new paint job for his home state race on that Hendrick Motorsports number 5 Chevrolet. Jeremy Mayfield, Owensboro, Kentucky driver. Grew up watching hometown favorite Darrell Waltrip at work. Came to Sadler Racing in Nashville, Tennessee as a fabricator, and a darn good one at that. Worked his way into a ride, eventually at the Winston Cup level. Got tapped by Cale Yarborough to drive his Winston Cup car, and has now moved over to the Penske Prentice team.
These guys have been going at it back and forth. You can see right there Robert Presley in the 77 looking to the inside of Kenny Irwin as they start down into the dogleg down the front part of this racetrack. Kenny Irwin's car is very, very strong in a straight line.
Dale Jarrett got around to Irwin a couple of laps ago, but has not been able to pull away.
Mike Skinner down on the apron, and he had run in the top 10 in the early going here.
He's on pit road. This would be an unscheduled pit stop.
For more on Kenny Irwin, Ralph Shaheen.
Mike, the one reason why Dale Jarrett can't get away from Kenny Irwin as easy as he got around him is Irwin's not showing all of his cars. He's got a pretty fast race car. The crew just wants him to take it easy. This is also the first time that Robert Yates has not been present while his cars are racing since 1992. He had 2 ganglion cysts removed this week, one from his right wrist, one from his right foot. He's at home watching the race on TV. Dick Bergman.
And he's doing really well. Kenny Irwin is having a great day today, given the way his weekend started. He began the weekend by bouncing the car off the wall, but he managed to get the work done on the car, and Irwin is having a good run today, Mike.
He has one top 5 finish, Dick, that coming at Atlanta. Mike Skinner took on right side tires and went back in the race, that coming at lap 64 under green, and it will cost him 2 laps. You're watching 5th, 6th, and 7th. Jarrett in 88, Irwin in 28, and Presley in 77. Robert Presley has started all 6 races, best finish of 20th at Darlington. You mentioned Jeff Gordon came back on track. He's not up to speed, but he is making laps. He came back out in 35th. Currently holds that position. Going to be hard to move up without more attrition. Bill Stevens.
Jimmy Spencer started 39th, has moved up to 17th. Crew chief Donnie Wingo not really that pleased with the last pit stop they had because they made the car a little bit too tight. Now they want to loosen it up on the next pit stop, and thanks to Buddy, we know exactly what I'm talking about.
Credit for the things I guess on, don't I?
Darrell Waltrip comes back in the race. He was also a victim of that lap 2 crash. You're watching from Rusty Wallace. There's a look at Waltrip. A little more black than yellow on that Dale and Teresa Earnhardt owned machine. And a hi to Steve Parks, regular driver of that car, who was on crutches at Bristol last week and on the mend, hoping to return this season. Jeremy Mayfield has now opened up a 4.2-second lead on last year's winner, Jeff Burton. Looks like they lost the reins on that horse. He is off and running.
Boy, and that car is just sticking right down on the inside of the racetrack. Mike just goes where he wants it to go.
Both Musgrave and Waltrip have been black flagged for speeding down pit road after coming back in the race. Musgrave has already served his stop-and-go penalty.
That is one time. That will not bother DW. He's been out forever and ever, so one more lap won't bother him one way or the other.
The phrase adding insult to injury comes to mind.
Yeah,
Waltrip is not up to full speed, but he was too fast down pit road. For more on Darrell Waltrip, Bill Stevens.
Well, Darrell Waltrip not having a great day, but you got to feel for his crew chief, Felipe Lopez. When Steve Park got hurt in Atlanta, Felipe Lopez went home and found out he had to get out of his house. His lease was not going to be renewed. He just closed on a new house last week. And oh, by the way, his wife Angela is pregnant with twins.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
He's going to be busy, but that's good news.
There's Jeremy Mayfield. Boy, just cruising on.
Get used to the side of that car up front. Mayfield has always shown talent since he first came to Winston Cup. We ride with Bill Elliott, currently posted in 12th position. Here's our First Plus Financial Cam. 71 laps complete in the Texas 500. We'll be right back. Complete in Texas. Jeremy Mayfield now with a 3.2-second lead, and he's about to lap Terry Labonte.
Oh, we almost saw a little collision there between Randy LaJoie and Wally Dallenbach as they were getting into the corner there. Dallenbach had to get on the brakes very, very hard.
Dallenbach in the green 46 that Jeremy Mayfield is putting a lap on right now. Dallenbach is in 27th position.
That is late speed. This just there in the 9 car. And one thing they don't want to do is go a lap down. So he turned up the wick a little bit there, turned the intensity up, trying to keep him getting lapped. But the way Mayfield's running right now, I don't think he can hold him off.
Lake Speed, that red machine with the cartoon characters all over it. He just missed being involved in the incident at lap 2. Mike Skinner earlier thought he had a tire going down, pitted for right sides at lap 64. He's back on pit road as Mayfield continues to eat up this field. Let's show you in replay Jeremy Mayfield's view of that bump.
He says, "Oh, guys, please don't hit. Please don't let anything happen." And it didn't.
Yes, they didn't bump.
One more monkey on that quarter panel of Lake Speeds, and they'd have had a little collision there.
The way Buddy jumped sitting next to me, I thought they bumped.
Boy, he has a great race car, and he is driving it to perfection.
And there's Terry Labonte trying to hang on, and you can see Jeremy going by on the outside to put Terry Labonte a lap down.
Labonte, runner-up last week, finds himself a lap down in the early going here at Texas. Here's our First Plus Financial telemetry on Jeremy Mayfield.
About 196, 97 miles an hour.
Trouble, turn 2. It is Kenny Irwin. All torn up in what looked like a single car incident at turn 2.
Terry Labonte got his lap back as he came back to the start-finish line.
Caution is out. Lap 81. Irwin, rookie driver, former USAC champ and graduate of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, brings out the 3rd caution of the day in the Robert Yates Ford, number 28.
Let's see what happened, Mike. Here he is right there, that car going into the turn. He is by himself there, coming up on Jeff Gordon up on the left side. Robert Presley behind him in car number 77.
Presley's gaining, but you can see he just got loose getting in the corner there. The 28 of Irwin going up the hill, the contact into the wall with the left rear corner, then the left front corner, and down the racetrack. Very lucky nobody was coming as he slides back across.
Irwin will try to limp back around to pit road as CBS Sports coverage of the Texas 500 will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
Still under the 2nd caution of the day at lap 83. We're celebrating NASCAR's 50th birthday this year. And here's one of the fellows that helped light that very first candle 50 years ago on a 3/4 mile dusty track down in Charlotte, North Carolina. Jim Roper won the very first race in what would become the Winston Cup Series. Sure is different today, huh, Jim?
Great today.
Jim Roper's from Texas, from right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, when he won that first race, the reason he won it, he got a right to protest. They said he'd been 2 or 3 laps down, but he had a way of figuring exactly how many laps that car of his had run that day. How'd you do it?
We had a counter out of a slot machine, and the owner's wife and the owner kept track of the laps at the same time. And our laps were the same.
So with a slot machine, gave him the exact number of laps that he'd run, and he was able to file a protest against Lynn Dunaway, and he came out the winner. Hey, Jim, congratulations on that first win and getting all this started. Nice to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
Jim Roper, who did it first. Charlotte, North Carolina, 50 years ago.
Kenny had one of the first sponsored NASCAR cars also because they tore down his engine in technical inspection after the race. The Mecklenburg Motor Company in Charlotte, the Lincoln dealer, gave him a new one to put in the car to drive all the way home to the Midwest if they put their name on the side of his car for the rest of the season, and he did.
Wow. Interesting story.
Bill Elliott. After pit stops, Elliott is up to 6th place. Started 38th today. Jeff Burton is the race leader from Jeremy Mayfield, Mark Martin, Chad Little, Robert Presley, and Elliott.
Excuse me, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The 99 car of Jeff Burton beat everybody out of the pits. So he has become the leader as we get ready to restart here. Jeremy Mayfield is in 2nd place.
I was just looking at Jeff Burton's statistics there. He's led most laps on super speedways this year, 232 laps.
He
back out front again right now.
Yep, it's going to lead a couple more. Mike Skinner is trying to get one of his laps back as we go back to green. Skinner is 3 laps down. Make that now 2 as he is out in front of leader Jeff Burton, that purple and black Ford, with Jeremy Mayfield close behind. 25 cars on the lead lap at 85 laps, 127 miles.
This is the most bunched up that we've seen them for a while. Bill Elliott got caught up on the outside there for a little bit. He apparently only took on 2 tires, made a great pit stop. Kyle Petty also was far back in the field, and he apparently only took on 2 tires and has gotten himself up in the top 10.
6 Fords lead the Pontiacs of Ward Burton and Kyle Petty.
Here comes Jeremy Mayfield like a rocket ship off turn 4 of the 12. You're riding with him down towards turn 1.
There have been 3 stock car races, NASCAR races on this track with NASCAR.
Whoa, you can see the 99 get very sideways. Jeff Burton almost lost that car.
He did lose the lead. Mayfield's back in front. Mark Martin closing in from 3rd. And Skinner will remain 3 laps down in that blue and yellow Chevrolet.
Boy, look at this traffic back here. Joe Nemechek down on the inside trying to get around the left car of Jeff Bodine. There's Bobby Labonte in the green car trying to make a pass on Dave Marcus. Went up in that high group. Didn't want to do that, but he had to because he was losing too much speed.
Dave Marcus is 1 lap down. That number 71 qualified at Daytona, and this is only Marcus's 2nd start of the year, qualifying in on time. Michael Waltrip, 21, moving around, and here comes Greg Sachs. Cale Yarborough, number 98.
Steve Grissom just behind the 98 there. Sachs. Derek Bradbury, he has run a great race today. He was in that first incident. He got a little sideways, got off the racetrack, but he had run in the top 10 until he made this pit stop.
That's the car number 78 that you're seeing going around Marcus. And there's David Green also having a good run in car number 96 going around Marcus.
That's the 20th and 21st place car. Also on the lead lap, Johnny Benson. Terry Labonte is back on the lead lap after finishing top 5 here last year. Randy LaJoie and Ricky Rudd are all lead lap cars. There's LaJoie's number 50 and Rudd's day-glow orange-tailed number 10.
Mike, you mentioned that Terry Labonte was back on the lead lap. We saw him get lapped, but as they came around to get the caution, Jeremy Mayfield backed off and let Labonte get back in the lead lap, a courtesy deal. And that was a Ford letting a Chevrolet get back on the lead lap.
Out the back of Randy LaJoie's car. That camera sits right on top of the rear bumper, right where the license plate bolts would be.
That's Bobby Hamilton in the orange-looking car on the outside there. He's dropping back just a little bit. I don't know what kind of problem he's having, but he just moved to the outside and let the faster cars go by.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time up there, buddy, doing that. Apparently his car's not working too well.
Battle for 7th place. That's Bill Elliott moving to the inside of Brett Bodine, who is 2 laps down.
Brad is running in the 27th position, scoring now showing him 1 lap down.
Oh, be careful. Dale Jarrett squeezing by the inside there of Bodine as they head down towards the back straightaway.
And look here, Jeff Burton has retaken the lead.
92 laps. Everybody was in at lap 30.
.25 cars still on the lead lap.
Well, what do you think? Has Mayfield just decided to ride a while and that's in a safe spot here? Or is this car changed?
I think after pit stops and they get to work on these cars a little bit, you know Jeff Burton gets stronger and stronger as the race goes. I think Jeremy Mayfield right now, he's running pretty hard. You can hear the car. He's not backing off way early, turning down. He's staying on the bottom of the racetrack. I think he has a match out there now.
And this set of tires they put on might not feel quite as good to him as the other set that he had on. Sometimes the air pressure will build up differently in them. Sometimes just a half of a pound difference in the air pressure after they get filled up will make a whale of a difference in how that car handles.
I have done this before, though. Just check them out for tough. See how good they are. Drop back. If you're able to close in real easy, like it looks like Jeremy's pulling back on him just a little bit now. See Jeff Burton there. He jumped sideways a second ago. Maybe his car is tightening up as these tires get hotter, and he's a match for Mayfield.
You're watching the first and second place car from leader Jeff Burton back at Jeremy Mayfield. Fords right now in the first 5 positions. Ward Burton's put his Pontiac up to 6th. Then the Fords of Elliott and Jarrett. The Pontiac of Petty. The Chevy of Nemechek. That's your top 10. Hut Strickland's back on the racetrack after that lap 2 crash. Lawn repair in the garage area for the Stamola Brothers car. And for 4th place, Chad Little has a mirror filled up by Robert Presley.
Robert Presley, very, very strong in the corner. You can see him close up on Chad Little right there as they come up on Jeff Gordon. Lap car there. Really couldn't get a clean run off. Chad Little could, but you see Presley had to check up. He lost momentum.
Up front, it's still 1/4 of a second between Burton and Mayfield.
Mike, I don't know if we mentioned that Hut Strickland has come back out on the racetrack also. He's just now came back into the pits, but he's going back out again.
And just that one lap, Ned, just that one lap gained him 4 positions over cars that had retired.
Mike, you can see Jeremy Mayfield moving in within a car length now of our leader, Jeff Burton, there in the 99 car. But just behind him, there's a teammate Roush car coming up. You can see him coming into view there, Mark Martin.
For more on our pole sitter in 2nd place car, here's Ralph.
Paul Andrews is a crew chief for Jeremy Mayfield. What did you do on that last stop, and how is he handling now?
Well, both stops we tightened the car up a little bit. Need a little bit more yet. You know, the car's a little free at the beginning of these runs. It's taking about 30 laps before it's getting used to it. So we need to be a little tighter than this. But everything's pretty good. We've got a real fast race car, you know, and I think we're going to be here all day.
Next pit stop due at about lap 172. If we stay under green, they were last in at lap 82.
Jeff Burton is not liking what he's seeing in the mirror right now. He has a loose condition, which he did get sideways about 15 laps ago, but Jeremy Mayfield was right behind him. He don't want that car to get any closer than he is right now, because what that does, it puts a wall of air up under the lead car and makes the back of the car lose traction.
Burton's car right now looks tied right down to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, but that'll kind of deteriorate as he gets closer and closer, and Jeremy knows that. Right now, he'd like to put pressure on him, but it looks like they're pretty well matched.
If you're Jeff Burton right now, how concerned are you with looking in the mirror as opposed to what's out front?
Well, he's got a clean racetrack at the moment in front of him, and I guarantee you start looking in that mirror, and the first thing that happens, you see him really gaining on you. Now he's just kind of holding his own, and that particular distance right there does not create a problem for the car in front.
Can't look back too far, those guys can't, because Mark Martin is coming up behind them.
There's Mark Martin, who is gaining on the lead duo, the Valvoline in-car cam. On board that Jack Roush Ford.
Darrell Waltrip just in front of the group here. He's got involved in a wreck very early in the race. If you're just joining us, as they go by him going into turn 1 there, you can see a lot of damage to the one of Darrell Waltrip's car.
Waltrip's own team, car 17, has been sold to a Texas businessman who will take about a 4 to 5 month hiatus. Dale Earnhardt needed a full-time substitute for injured rookie driver Steve Hart, who called on old foe Waltrip to fill the seat.
Yeah, so it's sort of strange bedfellows. Those guys get together, but it really has worked out good. It's a good win-win situation for both.
On the left, you're looking back from Jeff Burton for Jeremy Mayfield. There's the opposite view on the right side of your screen. We'll be right back to Texas after this.
106 laps, 159 miles, 5 leaders, and 9 lead changes. And the speed is escalated to 137 miles an hour. Well, there you see those crash victims from way back at the outset. Several cars have been able to get back out here. Kevin LePage is still working, trying to get out here and score some rookie points after the problems that Kenny Irwin has suffered. And there's your new leader. It's Jeremy Mayfield out in front, and with more of the call, here's Mike Joy.
While we were away, Ken, Robert Presley also passed Chad Little. That was for 4th place. Let's show you how Mayfield got the lead back.
You can see Mayfield has really cut down the group there. I don't think that Jeff Burton likes his car in front that much, and he just dropped back here, and the cat and mouse game continues.
Ned, it looked like Burton, did he have a hand in the air there? It really looked like he pedaled it.
Yeah, I think he pedaled it and just let Mayfield go on by, because I think that he was making him loose back behind him there, and he didn't like the feel of the race car.
So Jeremy Mayfield is out front. You're watching live now as Jeff Burton holds at about 0.3 of a second behind. Mark Martin is 3rd. Robert Presley is 4th. Chad Little is 5th. Here's the battle for 9th place on back. Rusty Wallace in the number 2 car. Joe Nemechek just ahead. Bill Elliott just behind.
Rusty Wallace is almost half a lap behind, Mike. He's a little over 14 seconds, and they're turning this track in about 30.5 seconds right now.
Wallace will look to the outside. Back
Mike,
down to the inside.
That's a good example. You can see the 2-car, Rusty Wallace, very, very quick down the straightaway. Mike Skinner's off just a little bit. He cannot hold him up. Down the straightaway, they run basically the same. But as they start into the corner, Rusty really has a good race car.
If Rusty had caught the 31 of Skinner in the straightaway, he could have gone on by, but he caught him in the corner and had to wait to get a run on that blue and yellow car down the next clear straight.
Same thing happened to Mark Martin when we were watching him a little bit ago. He was catching the leaders, and then he caught a car that they got by going into the corner, and Mark lost more than a second on that little exchange, and so he's dropped back behind him.
You can see Jeff Burton there caught up on the outside of a lap car there. Dave Marcus, the 71 car, and you can see Mark Martin has pulled right down to a car lift as they head down into turn 1. Now the same thing has happened to the 6th, Mark Martin.
Same problem. He caught Marcus going into the corner, not on the straightaway, couldn't complete the pass.
And you can lose a second in a hurry like that.
Last time by the start-finish stripe, Mark Martin was right on the back bumper of Jeff Burton. This time, the gap is substantial between them. It is 1.3 seconds from 2nd to 3rd.
Yes. So he lost more than a second.
So it's not just a matter of working the traffic, it's where you catch them.
Absolutely. And when you have a very tight groove like you have here, you time your runs on cars when you're making your lap up. And you can see if you get caught on the outside, the only thing you have to do is slow down, or you get sideways out on the outside of the groove there.
An old trick of David Pearson, easing the car down one straightaway to catch the car coming off the next corner and passing him. With more on Robert Presley, who's having a career day today, here's Dick Berggren.
He sure is, Mike. His best ever career finish in Winston Cup is 4th. Michael McSwain is his crew chief. Where is all the speed coming? You're in 4th right now.
Well, we run this good all year with the Jasper engines, 4 cars. We just haven't had the luck at the end of the race. But Robert sucked it up out there for us today. He's hurt a little bit from Bristol. He's doing a good job. These boys just been working hard, and all the boys have shot. It's just paying off for them.
The driver's working hard, too, and doing a great job. Terrell Shaheen.
Buddy Parrott is the guy who is in charge of Jeff Burton. Buddy, is Jeff's car changing dramatically when he has another car behind him, air-wise?
Well, not really. You know, we had to take some tape off the grill a while ago, and that tends to make the car push the front end a little bit. But, you know, we're just sitting there. Jeremy's got a good car today, and we're just gauging off of him. We've led a lot of laps this year. We'd like to lead the last one. Art Hawkins is sitting down in our pits, and we had a meeting before the race started. I tell you what, these guys did a great pit stop. We gained 5 points on the NASCAR. You know, the point situation, it was wonderful. Just driving a good race. And I just got to say one thing. Hi, Mom, 80 years old. I love you.
Jeff Burton exhibiting patience here. He let leader Jeremy Mayfield go by. Here's Mayfield about to pull down on Ricky Rudd and try to put last year's Brickyard 400 winner a lap down.
Rudd is running in the 25th place. We mentioned a moment ago there are 25 cars on the lead lap. Now Rudd's caught up behind Darrell Waltrip there coming off the corner. That'll cost him a little bit of time. And Jeremy Mayfield moves right up on him. Darrell will back off and Mayfield will go into that corner ahead of him, so it didn't slow him down.
That's Jeff Gordon on the inside of the racetrack. A lot of damage to his car. Now watch how fast these cars catch cars that are not quite up to speed down the straightaway.
Gives you a whole new perspective on speed. If you joined us late, a lap 2 crash took 10 cars from the track. Darrell Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt, Huck Strickland, Ted Musgrave, Jeff Gordon, along with Ernie Irvin, John Andretti, Rick Mast, Kenny Wallace, and Kevin LePage. Some of those cars have returned. Those retired include Strickland, Mast, Andretti, and Irvin. Earnhardt and LePage's cars are still being worked on. The others involved are out there running but damaged. Sterling Marlin and Jimmy Spencer for 12th place. One of those Felix Sabates Chevrolets is Marlin's mount, and Travis Carter's Ford with Jimmy Spencer.
They're running about 2/3 of a lap behind the leader, right? About 20 seconds, a little over 20 seconds.
Let's check with Bill Stevens.
Bill Elliott started 38th. They did not want to be there. They were the first car out in that abbreviated Friday qualifying session. This is the car they ran last year at the Brickyard 400. Crew Chief Joe Garone says that they've been changing everything on it to get it to run. Right now they're in 10th place, but he says this car this week has been like going to school, and I guess it's after you learn something.
Trouble, turn 3. One car spins at the wall. It's Musgrave. And they have just contacted the wall now.
Happened right in front of the leader, too.
Caution is out as Dale Earnhardt returns to the racetrack. Leaders have the caution.
We need to mention that all that damage to Musgraves did not just happen. That car was injured before the spin out. So he was out there in a crippled up car. Something must have really happened to it aerodynamically and got him up there.
He was in the lap 2 wreck. 4th caution flag of the day. Here's a look at Dale Earnhardt. It took 122 laps to repair Earnhardt's car. He is right now in 43rd position. He'll pick up 4 of those spots by completing a lap. Just 12 more points. Earnhardt in quest of what would be a record 8th Winston Cup championship. The other 2 cautions were a NASCAR mandatory caution coming on the 30th lap. Because of no happy hour practice yesterday, the teams wanted to check their setups. And then on lap 81, Kenny Irwin crashed by himself in turn 2.
You see that red flag? That means the pit road is closed until that green flag comes out. Now it's open.
And everyone who was last in at lap 82 should come in. Ricky Rudd had just been overlapped by the leader. He will stay out along with the other cars that are 1 or more laps down. All cars on the lead lap, there are 24 of them, are in.
This was a big break for some drivers. We mentioned that Spencer and a couple of those are back there, Sterling Marlin, were 20 seconds behind. Now they caught up. Let's go to the pits and route.
Ned, it's pretty much the same thing for leader Jeremy Mayfield. They're going to take half a round of wedge in. They're going to lower the track bar a little bit. They're going to change 4 tires. They've done the same things on every stop. They still want to tighten this car up just a little bit more.
Mayfield gets out just about even with Jeff Burton. Oh, I don't know how they'll call that one at the line, but Mayfield pulls out ahead. See a little jostling for position. That final white line at the end of pit road is where the NASCAR official stands and judges who gets off the pit lane first. 4th caution of the day, 18.8 second pit stop for Jeff Burton, 19.2 for Jeremy Mayfield, who came in leading. Randy LaJoie.
See what he saw going into the turn? Oh, that's what happened to Ted Musgrave.
Yeah, that's a little more an aerodynamic problem there.
Wow, he came up on him in a hurry. And
I'm sure that Ted Musgrave did not realize that he was coming for that bottom groove like that.
See, there went the leader. It happened right in front of the leader.
Watch for Mayfield, number 12. Already gone past. There he is, just going by there. See, Randy LaJoie was trying to lap past Musgrave on the inside. No more inside.
Well, Musgrave was on the high side of the racetrack. Randy thought he was going to stay up there, so he went on into the turn full speed.
But there was a car just directly in front of them that made Musgrave go up. He was running a very slow pace.
Randy LaJoie has right front corner damage to his Hendrick Chevrolet. We'll be right back to Texas after this. Jeremy Mayfield won the race off pit road ahead of Jeff Burton. Dick Trickle is up to third.
Dick Trickle drove a great race today in third place. Tore his original car up that he planned to run here in qualifying the other day. Junie Donlevy, you have to feel good. He's back home getting over heart surgery. We're thinking about you, buddy. Want you back at the racetrack as fast as possible.
Made a great pit stop. Hamilton took on 2 tires for Dick Trickle, but here's a battle for the lead, Mike.
Jeff Burton back to the front, last year's winner. Here comes Trickle to second place.
Yeah, he wants a part of that action.
Dick Trickle, 56 years old, winner of over 2,000 short track races. Rookie of the Year in Winston Cup at an age when a lot of folks have hung up their helmets.
You can see Trickle's car begin to push out in the center part of the corner. He lost a little momentum there. As Jeremy Mayfield looked at the back of that car down the straightaway, very fast in the straight line, but I think Trickle's car is a little bit loose in the center part. You see him go back up the racetrack, right in the middle part of the corner. Mayfield had to check up a little bit.
That's probably because of his 2 tires that he just took on.
Mayfield gets him in the back straightaway. More on Dick Trickle. Here's Dick Berggren.
Mike, this is an absolutely heroic run by Dick Trickle. He did demolish his car at time trials, and recall there was no practice after that. So this is a backup car. They had a grand total of 12 laps on this thing before the green flag dropped today, and here he is running in third to Bill Stevens.
And the reason they're doing so well after that last pit stop, a 2-tire stop. Tommy Baldwin Jr. just told me, hey, we rolled the dice, but so far it's coming up our number.
Tommy's dad in action in the modified tour race today at Thompson, Connecticut.
Here's Robert Presley. We're watching. We talked about how good he was running. He was up in the top 5 before he made that pit stop, Mike, but he dropped back to the 9th position on that pit stop, so he lost ground, trying to gain it back now, running on Rusty Wallace.
Dale Jarrett to the inside on Dick Trickle. Makes the pass. Third place now for Jarrett. Now, I thought Junie Donlevy had painted the roofs of all his cars green because he had trouble finding them on television. This one's black, just like they started the season. I'll have to check on that. For more on leader Jeff Burton, here's Ralph.
Mike, for Jeremy Mayfield, they're playing with the track bar and wedge to tighten him up. For the leader, Jeff Burton, they're playing with wedge and air pressures to get the same result. They need to tighten him up a little bit. So they adjusted the air pressure, messed with the wedge a little bit. I think he's good to go now.
Now, did you hear Buddy Parrott? That tells you how much you can believe a crew chief when he tells you what the car is doing. You just heard he's trying to tighten that car up. They don't jump sideways because they're pushing.
Jeff Burton 1.2 seconds ahead of Mayfield. Dale Jarrett, Chad Little, Dick Trickle, Mark Martin at 6-4 is at the front of the field. Then Ward Burton's Pontiac, Joe Nemechek's Chevrolet, Rusty Wallace and Robert Presley, the top 10. 24 cars still on the lead lap. Randy LaJoie, who made crash damage repairs under that caution, came in twice. He's the last car on the lead lap. Let's go to Bill Stevens.
Well, we were impressed with Bill Elliott's pit stop 2 pit stops ago. Helped him get into the top 10. In the last pit stop under yellow, he went out and had to come back in again. They had to take out those rubber boots, those little rubber donuts they stick in the springs to help shore up the suspension. They forgot to do it the first time he came in. They brought him back in, and he's off the pylon now.
22nd place for Elliott. He had climbed to 8th, as you see on the graphic. And now, that track position, Ned, having to come back in that second time, that's really hurt Bill Elliott.
Yes, it has. And it's got some cars that are going to be awfully hard to pass back there.
Here's one up toward the front that's looking awfully hard to pass. Dale Jarrett is coming to the front.
He is doing that. Dale Jarrett.
Trouble. Greg Sachs. Hard in the wall, turn 2. No other contact. Everybody slows up, and the caution flag will wave for the 5th time today.
Sachs was one of those 24 cars on the lead lap.
Former Firecracker 400 winner. And named by a poll at Stafford Speedway as one of the top 50 modified NASCAR drivers of all time. And having a tough day today. Other drivers in today's race that made that list were Jeff Bodine, Jimmy Spencer. And
Ned, you really hold your breath for a driver when they hit the outside wall and come trickling across the racetrack like Greg Sachs just did. Very lucky a car was not coming down in that corner at 190 miles an hour.
A lot of fluid has run out from under his Ford Taurus.
Take a second, Ned, to congratulate a couple of first-time winners in NASCAR this weekend. It's been a weekend of first-timers. As you saw at the top of our show, Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the Busch Grand National race here yesterday over Elliott Sadler and Joe Nemechek. And how about Rick Crawford from Alabama driving a Texas-owned truck? Won the Craftsman truck race over Jack Sprague yesterday. Let's see what happened here to Greg Sachs. Middle of your screen.
That's Greg Sachs right there, getting into the corner.
Coming under Jeff Bodine, and they make contact. And Greg turned it back the other way and slammed straight into the wall.
Let's ride along with Bill Elliott through that one. Sachs and Bodine, old adversaries from the modified circuit, getting together.
Elliott let off for just a little bit. As soon as he saw that car go to the wall, he got right back on that gas to get out of there as quick as he could.
But he shows pretty clearly just how close to the edge of control these cars are all the time.
Well, you know, he went down in the corner very low there, Greg Sachs did. Made very little contact with the Bodine car on the outside. But when he turned to straighten the car up, it took a set and turned it hard right. That was a hard impact to the outside wall.
Radial tires will do that. They'll take a set and just shoot you right straight up in there. They get such good grip.
And when we say take a set, it means the tires, which were sliding, suddenly the slip angle of the tire comes back to the tire gets a grip. And if those wheels are turned, hello wall.
Right.
137 laps complete at Texas. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Texas. Greg Sachs has taken a hard hit to the outside wall in turn 2 after he and Jeff Bodine made slight contact. Rescue workers right now are removing the roof of Sachs's car so they can help get him out and put him on a backboard. It was a hard shot with the side of the corner of the car up into the turn 2 wall. And the side windows are so small on these cars that sometimes a healthy driver finds it a chore climbing in and out of these cars. So to get a driver out, sometimes the easiest way to help a driver from the car is to take the roof and the upper roll bars off. And that's what's happening right now. We'll get an update for you on Greg Sachs just as soon as we can.
Yeah, the right side of the car is what went into the wall, Mike.
And folks, not to alarm you, this is not an indication of serious injury, just that it is easier to help Greg out of the car with the roof and the bars removed, since apparently he cannot climb out under his own power. They're on the scene, helping to remove the pieces necessary to get Greg out. They have a backboard out for him. You see the damage to the right side. That fender pushed in way past the tire, or the rear end perhaps may have gotten knocked loose in the crash. We're at lap 140. 334 in a race that has been beset by cautions, 5 of them so far today. Today was Greg Sack's 258th career start in this division. 3 years ago, or rather 13 years ago, in his race car, but with a Robert Yates Chevy engine. He won the Firecracker 400 at Daytona.
Greg drove for me for several races after I got injured in 1988 and did a fine job in our race cars.
Again, we'll get you an update on Greg Sacks just as soon as possible. A number of drivers have made pit stops. As we roll under the caution flag here, still 23 cars on the lead lap.
And many of those cars back towards the back of the pack, including Dick Trickle, who was running up there in 3rd place at the restart. He made a pit stop and is far back in the field now.
Sacks crew watching as we are.
You can see they're working very carefully, but very fast as well.
He's waved an arm to the rescue workers. So apparently Greg, from what we can observe, is alert and talking to the folks who are helping to remove him from the car. Ricky Craven, our car with Randy LaJoy aboard, has made a pit stop. Dale Earnhardt has also been in, repairing crash damage. You can see him lifting his arm up over his head. You have 3-inch wide shoulder harnesses to move. That's what the rescue worker is moving out of the way there. Unhook of the radio gear, and also perhaps a drink tube that's sometimes taped to that harness. And then the most direct way to remove the driver is straight up.
Mike, they still have the seat with Greg Sacks there as they got him on the flat part of the stretcher there.
And buddy, that's an excellent precaution being taken by the track safety crews. If there is any fear of injury, to bring the driver out in the seat, get him to the infield care center where he can be looked at, rather than risk further injury by trying to pull the driver up and out of the seat. That's an excellent precaution. Let's take a look back and see what happened as the 7 car of Jeff Bodine, that blue car on the left, and Greg Sacks, that black and red machine right behind on the inside. There's Sacks, get together.
Well, right there, they make very light contact. You'll see the back of Sacks's car get sideways. He steers in, and it takes a set. He locks the brake up. It goes right into the outside wall.
Now again, the seats in these cars make full contact with the driver's rib cage area and his hip and all the way down the right leg. Here's an overhead view.
See, as it comes down off the track, Mike, he goes down to the inside wall and hits it.
And those seats with the same kind of support on both sides try to help spread the load of impact all along the torso.
Here we are riding with Bill Elliott going into the turn, and he sees that in front of him. And Sacks immediately goes up the track, and Elliott just accelerates out of it.
So the cars circulate slowly under caution. And CBS Sports coverage of the Texas 500 will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Welcome back to the Texas 500. Jeff Burton under caution leads Jeremy Mayfield and Dale Jarrett were under caution for the wreck by Greg Sacks. Welcome back, everybody. Mike Joy with Buddy Baker and Ned Jarrett. The track has held up well. No water seepage, no problems other than the drivers negotiating these tricky turns. Ned, at the top of the day, we talked strategy. No tire pit stops, 2 tire stops, 4 tire stops. We've seen them all.
Yes, we have, and don't think it's working quite as good today as it did yesterday, Mike. Of course, these cars are 100 pounds heavier than the Busch cars we saw run yesterday, plus the fact that they have about 200 more horsepower, get into the turns faster, so it doesn't look like that the 2 tire changes that we've seen works nearly as well as it did yesterday.
We also talked at the top about the Ford Tauruses, how they've led 2/3 of the laps this year. And, Buddy, for a lot of the day, the top 6 or 7 machines out there have been those Bulls.
I'm telling you, the Ford Taurus right now seems to be a little quicker in the corners than the General Motors cars. So maybe, I don't know, you're going to hear them sing when this race is over, though.
Let's bring you up to date if you joined us late. On lap 2, much like the start of the race last year here at Texas in the inaugural, a big crash down in the corner. Gary Bradbury was way up high, swept across the track to the apron, and behind him, 10 cars piled up.
Yeah, somebody just started checking up. Someone got into somebody who did check up, and it just became a chain reaction type of a deal.
Half of those 10 cars are in the garage. The rest are dented but running. Here's Ken Squire.
Thank you very much, Mike. 220 miles now are complete here. Sitting alongside, I'm very honored to have one of the gentlemen who is always considered not only one of the hardest chargers, but one of the most respected drivers in NASCAR. 3-time Daytona 500 champion, 83 Winston Cup champion Bobby Allison. You've been here since Thursday, and since Thursday, nobody's been talking that much about the athletes. They've been talking about this racetrack. Your opinion, what are your thoughts about this mile and a half?
Well, it's a tremendous facility. Certainly it has its own little differences. You know, it's got the spots that these guys are going to have to figure out. They had the water problem, which is really unusual. I've never seen anything like that.
The tracks everywhere. What do you think? Should they change them?
No, I don't think they should change it.
Let's go back to the race.
Okay.
Like Bobby Hamilton said this week, we've all got a gas pedal. You can push it down and you can ease up on it too. They're racing the racetrack here in Texas, 149 laps. We go back to green.
And Jeff Burton was able to get by the left traffic before they got down into turn 1. And Dale Jarrett was not able to get by. Jeremy Mayfield did. And Chad Little is trying to take over third from Jarrett.
Down on the inside, that green car of Chad Little.
And Mark Martin will come by as well.
Single file from the top few spots. Whoa, way out close to the wall. That yellow car of Bobby Hamilton.
Yeah, you just said Bobby Hamilton could either back off or go in. Look at this. Rusty Wallace caught on the outside of Ward Burton, right where you do not want to be caught. You can see him dropping back. He had to pedal out of the throttle.
Something may be wrong with Hamilton's car. He's backing up in the field, 3 wide around him. He was way high on the racetrack. Up front, Jeremy Mayfield behind. Jeff Burton looking for the lead, taking it.
These young Turks don't wait long. Jeremy Mayfield likes to lead these races, and right now, he said the best place on the racetrack is out front. Nobody to run into when you're leading.
28-year-old Jeremy Mayfield from Owensboro, Kentucky. Right out front of Jeff Burton. A long gap back to the third place car. Chad Little working around the lap car of Lake Speed. There they are.
Yeah, he got caught up behind both Lake Speed and Mike Skinner, and that has cost him a lot of time. Speed in the 9 car, the red car now, as Little gets on the inside of him.
The green car of Little down to the inside, and here comes Mark Martin in white, red, and blue, and Dale Jarrett's number 88. That is tough on the restart, trying to bust through those lap cars.
It really is. You get up on that outside, you got no alternative but to back off.
But you have to understand the lap cars there. They're trying to get back in the lead lap. They can't just play dead, you know. They have to go right on and run their plan, too. So everybody's got a place on the racetrack. It's just tough on these guys when it's single file through the corner to try to race with these guys that are a lap down.
Well, but they have no chance of getting their lap back now because the leaders are long gone out in front of them. Now Mark Martin gets on the inside of Lake Speed, so he'll make the pass.
What is the protocol when you're a lapped car? Stay to the inside, stay to the outside, get the heck out of the way, what?
You're seeing it right there. Lake Speed now, he realizes he's not going to make that lap up, so he moves to the high side. Here comes Rusty Wallace in the 2 car going right on. When they get down to the corner, you'll see him check up right here. And Rusty will go right on up beside him. Here comes Ward Burton. He's on the high side.
Now those are lead lap cars. The next car in line, Ricky Rudd, is not. Rudd, in that bright orange number 10, is racing Speed for position and will take over 24th place there.
Of course, that's one reason that Lake Speed wanted to run as hard as he could to try to to get away from the cars that he's racing with, not necessarily to try to get back on the lead lap once the leaders have run off and left him.
And it's cost him at least a position to Ricky Rudd. Five cars officially out of the race. Irwin, Strickland, Mast, Andretti, and Irvin. 4 of those 5 from the wreck on lap 2.
That's your 9th place car there, Jimmy Spencer, the 23, doing a very good job today. Very patient. Jimmy Spencer 5 years ago would have been in trouble, but he has really, really matured as a good driver lately.
Had to take a provisional to get in this field, but has run a good race. And is right up there, still in the thick of it.
Qualifying for this race, not very indicative of performance. 9 cars attempted qualifying on the afternoon when the rest of qualifying was canceled due to water seepage. Everyone else ran the next morning. Most of those cars were faster. So a number of top cars had to take provisional starting positions to make the show.
The 11th place car there, Robert Presley, has been up front all day long. Now he's trying to get good track position to get back up in that top 10 where he can hang on to the leaders on these restarts.
Presley, number 77, best career finish 4th at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina in 1996 when he was driving for a car run by Andy Petrie, who now owns Kenny Schrader's car, and Leo Jackson. There's David Green, black and yellow 96, and Kyle Petty, Kenny Schrader, the 33, and Terry Labonte. That race is for 11th on back.
11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. Gary Bradbury in there in 16th position, and 41 car, Steve Grissom. He's on the lead lap.
And the 26 of Johnny Benson.
All of those cars are racing for position.
Bobby Labonte in the green, number 18 there. 21, Michael Waltrip.
Now, most of the leaders last stopped at lap 124. Bill Elliott, Johnny Benson, and Michael Waltrip all came in and topped off under this most recent caution, laps 135 to 147. At lap 137, Bobby Labonte, Marlin, LaJoy, Benson, Michael Waltrip, Trickle, and Terry Labonte were in. So the pit stop sequencing has been separated out quite a bit by these last 2 caution flags.
If this thing stays green until another pit stop comes up for the leaders, then those drivers will be able to run a little bit farther.
You can see in Bill Elliott's car there, a car caught on the outside as they head into turn 1. Everybody makes it through there very good so far.
The butt cam on Randy LaJoy's car inside of Lake Speed.
Well, once those front cars passed Lake, he has really moved back in the pack.
The leaders last pitted around lap 130, so about lap 220. We'll see them again unless there's a caution flag. Still 23 cars on the lead lap.
There's Bobby Hamilton, the car number 4. He is not one of them. He's being shown in 28th place, 1 lap down, but Dick Trickle is on the lead lap.
But he's in 23rd spot. He was in 3rd spot because of a great pit stop a while ago, but only took on 2 tires. Now he's back in the field a little bit.
That's because he stopped again, Buddy, to pick up the other 2 tires, so had to restart at the tail end of the lead batch. Trickle's coming back to the front. Chad Little in green and Mark Martin right behind him. 2 of the Jack Roush cars, and they are 3rd and 4th behind Jeremy Mayfield and Jeff Burton.
The leaders have pulled away from them by about 4 seconds.
Now Dale Earnhardt was involved in that lap 2 crash, was listed last in the running order, 43rd. He is now 38th, 122 laps behind, and continues to gain points and positions. Jeff Bodine, the number 7, is 3 laps down.
31st position. Now you wonder why would he go back out there, Earnhardt, and pick up those, what would that be, 5 positions? At 3 points per position, that's 15 points that he's picked up. The championship last year was won by a margin of 14 points.
Jeff Gordon re-entered the race in 35th position. He's gained only 1 spot and is 62 laps down. There's a long way to go to pick up another position. And here's Kenny Wallace back in the race. He is 99 laps behind in 37th place. He was also a victim of the lap 2 crash.
Got a pretty good patch there on the right rear corner where they had to repair the rear of the car. That's that 200-mile-an-hour tape you hear people talk about.
Unscheduled pit stop for Randy LaJoie. He's in the pits. Changing tires.
Crash damage on that right front, and apparently was more than just sheet metal. As the Hendrick crew has a look and replaces that right front tire.
You know, I'm looking at Randy LaJoie sitting in the pits, and Terry Labonte is the only Hendricks car out there at the moment with the chance to keep a kind of a tradition going. There's been at least one Hendricks Motorsports driver in the top 10 each week since Sears Point, May of 1993.
Every race?
Every race.
That is quite a record.
Yes, it is. Even though they have three cars in their organization, that still is good. What Mark Martin trying to race with Chad Little here for the third position.
We saw this earlier in the day where Little held him off for a few laps, and then Mark went by coming off turn 4 and made the pass underneath. Chad Little looks pretty strong right now.
Yes, he does.
They are 5 seconds behind leader Jeremy Mayfield and 3.8 seconds behind second place car Jeff Burton.
Yeah, Mayfield is checked out from Jeff Burton. About 1.2 seconds ahead.
As the leader takes the halfway sign, let's have a look at what happened earlier between these two.
Well, they passed Jeff Gordon, and Mark tries to get on the inside, gets down on the dirt, really, or the grass.
That's called, there is no inside for me.
That was 1 lap ago. There it is from the in-car of Martin. You see him. Oh, yeah, he's got the yellow line right up to the center of the hood.
The funny part, that was Ted Musgrave, another teammate on the outside that they had to swing down to the inside of the track to get by.
I'll bet there's a little conversation on the Roush radio channel about that right now. For more, Dick Berggren.
An interesting strategy is developing in Mark Martin's pit, Mike. They had some tire trouble during practice here, and so when they started the day, they really weren't sure that this chassis setup was going to work or whether it was going to chew up tires. So the strategy this day has been to take it easy, if you can believe that, as Mark Martin runs in 4th spot right now, challenging his teammate. And Jimmy Fennig says it's not yet time to go. This car, this number 6 car, has much more in it. To Bill Stevens.
Earlier, Buddy Baker, you said Jeremy Mayfield likes to run up front. He also likes a little extra walking around money. After that last restart, his crew chief, Paul Andrews, said, hey, you got the pole, now get the halfway bonus. And Jeremy just cashed. To Ralph Shaheen.
There's a brace rubbing the tire for Randy LaJoie. That's the problem with the 50. They're trying to get that away the best they can so that tire can run freely without having any problems.
LaJoie running in 28th place, 2 laps down, despite a spin to miss the first crash of the day and then being involved in a later one.
Mike,
Ted Musgrave up the hill.
We talked a moment ago about that Jeremy Mayfield had checked out. Well, look at Jeff Burton has moved right back in on him once again. Of course, he went out there and got that $10,000, and maybe he said mission accomplished.
Dad, you and I both won races, didn't pay that to win it. So, I mean, 10,000, if it's up there and you have that good a car, why not get it?
Closing in on the leader once again. Jeff Burton works around the outside of Musgrave. And they catch Jeff Gordon in a spot that slows up Mayfield, and Burton is there.
Riding with Jeff Burton, you can see him coming off turn 4. They'll sweep out against the wall here. Now they'll kind of make a straight line through the quad oval here as they head down into turn 1 and then right back to the bottom of the racetrack. Both cars look very, very good in the corners. They head down towards the back straightaway. You can see Jeremy Mayfield, his car looks very, very stable. I think he's being close as far as traffic and all. He's not taking any chances when he comes up on lap traffic. Jeff Burton closes in, but then he can't close enough when he gets up there.
3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th is closing up to be a big battle. The green car is Chad Little. Right behind him, Mark Martin, as they catch Ted Musgrave and work underneath. And 2 more cars are about to be in that picture. Dale Jarrett and Rusty Wallace had closed right up on these 2. And 3 laps ago, Green and the number 6 of Martin were bumper to bumper coming off turn 4. There's Jarrett, the right side of your screen, and the white-nosed car is Rusty Wallace.
Martin got caught up behind Jeff Gordon coming off of turn 4 and had to back off for a little bit. We've talked about that, how much time you can lose. Jeff Gordon didn't do anything wrong. He's running down at the bottom of the racetrack. But at the speeds they're running, they're just hesitant to run up there in that second groove and pass somebody on the outside.
Mike, I want to point out something about Rusty Wallace also. He was nearly a half a lap back just a little while ago. Due to caution and adjusting on this car, he's one of the fastest cars on the racetrack now, and that's why he's in the position and points that he is going into this race. He waits until the right time to really turn up the intensity.
We're just past halfway at Texas Motor Speedway. That 12 of Jeremy Mayfield leads the 99 of last year's winner, Jeff Burton. We'll be right back.
267 miles, 5 different leaders, 12 lead changes, average speed a very slow 129 miles per hour with 5 cautions to date. And we have 7 cars off the track and a major story developing on pit road right now. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Jeremy Mayfield, the leader, appeared to cut down a right front tire as he went into turn 1. He had led 5 times for 105 laps and had to come all the way around the track at reduced speed before he could come into his pit. Let's have a look here.
Okay, that's out of turn 4, the start-finish line right there. Let's go. Now, he's got a lot of rubber flying off of the front of that right front, and it actually pushed the right front fender out a little bit. Hopefully, it didn't knock out the inner panel where smoke and stuff can come into the car.
Boy, and he was fortunate that didn't happen going into the turn. He was able to get the car slowed down and get it under control, get it down on the apron, and bring it back to the pits.
You can see him driving it up close to the wall in case that did happen, so he wouldn't run all the way across the racetrack. Now he knows he has it under control and slowed down.
Ralph Shaheen.
This is a look at the tire that just came off. This is that right front tire. We'll check to see, buddy, if there's any damage to that inner panel. It did have some damage to the right front fender as well. So the aerodynamics of the car have been knocked out of whack a little bit as well. We'll check on that inner panel for you.
Jeremy Mayfield apparently lost 2 laps, making that pit stop to replace right side tires.
He's in 27th position now.
But what a nice save right here at start finish. Just coming through the first of the 2 dog legs. That's why we call this a quad oval. It's where that right front tire cut down.
Now, Mike, certainly that puts him off sequence with here's the leader, Jeff Burton, who has a comfortable lead now of about a little over 3.5 seconds. That puts him off sequence as far as pit stops are concerned. Now, if this thing goes green for a good while, he'll be able to make up at least one of those laps when others have to make a pit stop.
Mayfield has led 105 of the 183 laps so far. Most all the leaders came in at lap 124. And we'll check a little further for when pit stops are due. Battle for 9th place, Kyle Petty, number 44. Robert Presley's been in the top 10 most all day in 77.
And there's a couple of cars behind them. There you see Terry Labonte in car number 5 and Ted Musgrave in the yellow number 26 as they go by Ricky Rudd in car number 10. They're fighting for position as well, which is the 11th and 12th positions.
There goes Benson right on by. Got a great run up out of the corner and past Terry Labonte down the 1 straightaway there.
The lap past Dave Marcus. In the 71, Marcus 6 laps down. 30 to 35 laps before pit stops for the lead cars, some of which are out of sequence, as we had caution flags at lap 123 and 136 when some of the cars in the lead lap came in. Did he bounce the wall up there in turn 4?
He went very, very high. Right front on that car is down.
Well, there's something happening here, guys, that's causing those tires to go down. We've heard about talking about pushing at times, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not.
Mike, he has a big problem. You can see the toe end knocked out on that car also. It's towed out on the right front corner. He can't stop it. The brakes are gone, it looks like.
Exactly. Had no brakes. Boy, what a tough break for Jeff Burton, Jeremy Mayfield, and now Jeff Burton. Maybe the brake situation is what happened that caused him to get up into the wall.
If he lost brakes going into that corner.
Right.
You can see him pulling out the sheet metal on the right rear also, so he did get into the wall, definitely.
Well, that has given Chad Little the lead.
Ralph is there.
Mike, they've got big problems with Jeff Burton. They're going to now push him back behind behind the wall. Because of that brake problem, they're going to have to take him back behind the wall to go to work on this car. Buddy Parrott and the crew going to work on it right away, breaking the brakes as he went into the wall.
Well, the rattlesnakes have been biting the leaders here in Texas. First Jeremy Mayfield, now Jeff Burton. Chad Little leads his first race of the season.
I tell you, there have some guys that have backed off the accelerator a little bit since we've seen these two cars, these two leaders have problems. Chad Little hadn't backed off. Mark Martin has backed off. Dale Jarrett has backed off. Rusty Wallace has backed off. Chad Little, all three of them were on his bumper right before this happened, and now he's sitting out there with over a 2-second lead.
Let's listen to Rusty Wallace as he heads down. He backs out the accelerator, way back up on the straightaway there, eases the car down in the corner, picks up the throttle. You can hear he's not even back wide open yet. Now he starts to get wide open off the corner.
Now, after their pit crews will check with both Jeremy Mayfield, they saw that he had that flat tire. They don't know what caused it, but then they thought that Jeff Burton had a flat tire, and they'll get word back, well, maybe it wasn't the tire situation, and give them a little bit more comfort out there, but they were riding on pins and needles there for a little bit.
Let's show you in car from Jeff Burton.
Down the back straightaway.
Wow. Hit that wall pretty good.
And fortunately, Chad Little was not right behind him.
You can see part of the brake rotor and stuff bouncing behind the car. That's a big steel part of the brake system bouncing behind the car.
Rusty Wallace is in. Ward Burton is in. These teams want to check these right side tires, so they're making their pit stops early.
Absolutely. They don't want to get into the wall, take any chances of something going wrong. They want to check those tires out.
There's Wallace just in front of Ward Burton, who pulls away. And the leader.
Now comes Mark Martin.
Chad Little is in.
So Mark Martin, of course, will take the lead now. Chad Little comes down pit road.
Lead cars pitting under green. 4-tire stop for Rusty Wallace. Pulling out as Little pulls in.
Ooh, wow, that's pretty close.
Dick Berggren.
Chad Little having the best day of 1997 so far. Pits out of the lead. They're going to change at least right side tires. Led by crew chief Jeff Hammond. The rights are all set. Roaring around the left side. This is going to set the tone when the leaders change for. Pretty much everybody else is going to do the same thing. Little doesn't have to worry about speeding. He's the first guy in the pit road. Oh, and he stalled the car. Little stalled it. That'll cost him
Mark Martin is in.
0.7 on that pit stop.
Thanks, Dick. Dale Jarrett is in as well. Kyle Petty has made a pit stop. As all the leaders come in to check tires. David Green on his way into the pits. Here's Martin.
Now, all of this is going to help Jeremy Mayfield. He went 2 laps down because he had to come all the way around the track on a flat tire, but this will put him back in much better position. Could even put him back on the lead lap, maybe the tail end of the lead lap. We'll see how it all works out once these pit stops are made.
Jimmy Spencer comes down pit road.
Martin is away. 4-tire change.
Dale Jarrett beat him out of the pits.
Here's Terry Labonte, Kenny Schrader, and Robert Presley.
This man has become the leader.
Joe Nemechek might be the first Chevrolet to lead today. He is.
That's right. I would say he'll be looking in for the pits here pretty soon if he hadn't already stopped.
Ned, I'm told drivers used to have a little flap door, a trap door in the right front so they could look at their tire wear. Not anymore, but
we did have back in my day. Yeah, and even for night races, we had a light on the thing. So
come on.
See it. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Not just a light, a timing light, where you could stop the tread and actually see it.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yep. It was a strobe light.
And Nemechek will surrender to the lead. Coming on to pit road, Johnny Benson will be the race's new leader. 195 laps completed. Green flag pit stops continue here in Texas. 4 laps complete. Johnny Benson is the race leader. Benson, Michael Waltrip, and Bill Elliott topped off their tanks at lap 147. The rest of the cars on the lead lap, including Sterling Marlin, Dick Trickle and Bobby Labonte stopped at lap 137. So they are out of sequence with the cars that just made green flag pit stops and are now 1 lap down. Johnny Benson, 4th at Las Vegas, 5th at Bristol last week, and 2 other top 10 finishes in 6 races since joining the Jack Roush team. Here's Nemechek battling Robert Presley. 14th position at stake there as those cars made pit stops. Bobby Hamilton has stopped, and just now Wally Dallenbach. Tire talk down on pit road. That's Jack Roush in the hat. And now Bobby Labonte, Sterling Marlin, both come to pit road. Roush wants to know how those tires look coming off of Chad Little's car. Marlin, the silver car, Bobby Labonte in green.
Now the leader's coming in, Johnny Benson.
So they're not waiting for a scheduled stop. Ralph Shaheen.
Mike Steve Neal, the crew chief, told me they were going to go as long as they possibly can to stay close to everybody else. Now they did major front suspension work to this car as Johnny comes screeching to a halt. What they did was they would come in, take the front wheel off on either side, change the rebound on the shock, which means you have to manually go inside with your hands, change the shock, put the wheel back on. You can only do 1 at a time. They came back in twice with both sides on the front. They're changing 4 sides of tires now. All those tires, the shocks are the way they want them. And in 19.7, they've got a car that's in the hunt.
Dick Trickle is on pit road as well. That puts the 21 of Michael Waltrip into the lead right there. Jimmy Spencer is 1 lap down. Michael Waltrip and Bill Elliott are the only cars that have not pitted in this sequence. There's Dick Trickle after service coming back in the race. An update on Greg Sachs, the driver who crashed hard into the turn 2 wall. He is alert and has been taken to Dallas Parkland Hospital for observation. But he is alert and communicating with his caregivers and taken to the hospital to be checked over.
That's good news.
Mike Skinner makes a stop as now 7 cars are posted on the lead lap. Michael Waltrip, number 21, your leader. Bill Elliott, Dale Jarrett, Chad Little, Mark Martin, Rusty Wallace, and Ricky Rudd has not stopped during this sequence. So Rudd has gotten back on the lead lap as a consequence. And it's been a long time since Rudd's been in, lap 124. So he'll be due within the next 15 laps.
Michael Waltrip on used tires right now, and Jimmy Spencer has been in the pits. You can see up off the corner, they're running very, very close. So I don't see a lot. Here comes Jimmy Spencer on the inside, taking a look at Michael Waltrip into turn 3, but didn't make the pass.
This is a high-stakes game of Texas Hold'em going on right now. If you leave Michael Waltrip and Ricky Rudd out there and Bill Elliott, you hope a caution comes out, reducing the number of cars on the lead lap. But if you draw the wrong card and that tire lets go, you lose more than the lead.
I didn't mean to yell, guys, but Spencer went in out of the groove there, got that car sideways.
Bill Elliott is in. Elliott pits and surrenders second place. Will Waltrip stop, or would the Wood brothers play another card here?
Well, they're making another lap.
That leaves Michael Waltrip and Ricky Rudd as the only drivers not to pit among the leaders. Now I'm sure their crews have been looking up and down pit road, and Waltrip's waving. He's coming in. A big wave to Spencer. He drops low down toward the apron, off speed, and here's your race leader on pit road. A winner of the Winston All-Star race, but looking for his first Winston Cup points race victory. Here's Waltrip to the Wood brothers. Bill Stevens.
Michael Waltrip is in the pit, and they're doing the whole deal here. Going to take some wedge out of the back, right side tires, more fuel. Now to the left side of the the car. It's going up. They are not adjusting the tire pressure on these tires they're putting on the car. They're staying pat there. So just a chassis adjustment, and he goes back to work.
Dale Jarrett takes over the lead. Chad Little with him. This will move Rusty Wallace up to third. Mark Martin to fourth. Ricky Rudd to fifth.
Rudd will have a pit stop coming up before too long. This is the first time Jarrett has led today, I believe. So he picks up those 5 bonus points.
And then it puts a whole bunch of cars back on the lead lap with Michael Waltrip stopped.
Including David Green, who is right in front of Dale Jarrett. Green is in the 19th position. He actually, after the made pit stops, was behind Jarrett, and he has passed him since then and has been trying to stay out there in front of him, knowing that Jarrett was going to become the leader when those others stopped.
Now we're updated on Ricky Rudd. He did make a pit stop during the caution for Greg Sachs at lap 147, though he was not on the lead lap at the time. So Rudd can go another 20 laps or so should he choose. To try to stay on the lead lap, he's in 5th place. 212 laps completed. Texas. We'll be right back. Lap traffic has been the nemesis of lead drivers Chad Little and Dale Jarrett, who just traded positions as they lap past Dave Marcus. They couldn't get past David Green, who's fighting to stay on the lead lap. Chad Little just kind of used Marcus as a pick as Jarrett took the careful way around. Chad Little just threaded the needle between the two of them and took the lead. A bold move.
Yes, it was a bold move. Very aggressive move, but it worked for him.
Ricky Rudd back in the pits. Speeding on the pit exit will cost Rudd, who was in 5th place when he made his pit stop.
As good as these 2 cars are running right here, just behind them, Rusty Wallace has picked this thing up quite a bit. He's in 3rd place and really moving up on the lead, too. You're riding with Rusty off turn 2 as they head down the back straightaway. You can see the leaders right now going in the corner just in front of Rusty Wallace.
On board with our Miller Lite cam. Coming across in front of the 150,061 seats.
They're all filled.
Pulling up on Brett Bodine.
You could hear him check up the center part of that corner where he'd have a good run going down the back straightaway to get by Bodine, but you can see he is visibly closing in on the front 2 cars.
Here are the leaders, Chad Little and Dale Jarrett. This track has not been kind to leaders today. Jeremy Mayfield cut down a tire. Jeff Burton cut down a tire and slapped the wall hard. Chad Little out in front. Dale Jarrett tracking him.
Little's car seems to be a little bit loose coming off the turn. But he managed to hold on to the lead. Of course, like we've talked several times, when a car gets up close behind you, sometimes that will loosen you up.
So where does Dale Jarrett want to pass Chad Little?
He wants to get up the side end coming off of either turn 2 or turn 3. Get a nose up on the inside end coming off the turn, then beat him back into the next corner.
This is what they don't want to do, is run up on cars that are pretty slow. You see Chad Little having to go high there. Coming off turn 4, Jarrett closes right up on his back bumper down the front straightaway.
Well, that's how Chad got by the 88 car, was when they came up on Dave Marcus. Marcus was down on low on the inside, and Jarrett had to, that gave Chad a run coming up off of turn 2. He took advantage of it and made the pass.
Last lap, Jarrett about a 10th of a second quicker around the racetrack than leader Chad Little. Rusty Wallace just 1.5 seconds back. Mark Martin 1.9 seconds behind the leader. And then it's an 8-second gap back to Joe Nemechek, Johnny Benson, Jimmy Spencer, and Robert Presley. 18 cars on the lead lap. That battling back and forth among those 2 cars was a break for David Green, who managed to scoot out ahead of the race leaders. Ken Squire.
Lap
running down here, getting into the final moments of this race. They've still got about 100 miles to go, but what a change in the complexion of Chad Little's number 97. Earlier this season was going nowhere last year. His last good year, 1995, when we saw him come from dead last to win the 300-miler at Daytona. Apparently, Jeff Hammond has really made some changes. Last week, led 10 laps at Bristol, ran 7th all day, crashed late in the going, and here he is battling, muscling Jarrett here just 10 laps ago. As they slugged it out for the lead. This is a new Chad Little that's leading here in the Texas 500. Let's go to Ralph.
Ken, the one problem for Chad Little is this is the best Dale Jarrett has run all day. Under the guidance of crew chief Todd Barrett, this crew has worked on that blue, white, and red 88 all afternoon. And he has been fighting a loose condition all day. However, they finally hit it right. On the last pit stop, they made no chassis adjustments, just tire and fuel. They are ready to go racing.
Dick Trickle has made a pit stop unscheduled as he was in that group just about 20 laps ago.
Speaking of Dale Jarrett, he is up from 34th in the points to 9th. That is a great gain this year. Momentum is on his side. I think he's being very, very cautious right now. We did have a little bit of a tire problem not long ago, but look in the center part of the corner. That car is a rocket ship.
Dick Berggren, what's the story on tires?
It's always, Mike, it is a big story. Jack Roush just hand-delivered this tire that had come off Chad Little's car at the last pit stop. They took a look inside the tire. What's going on is, to go fast here in Texas, you want to run as little air pressure as possible. But to do that, you get extra stress on the sidewalls. The theory at the moment is that may well have been what happened to Jeff Burton. Too much stress on the sidewall, the tire fails. So they wanted to take a look at Chad's and make sure they're okay. Well, they're pretty okay, but they are having a bit of problem. Both Chad and Mark Martin are seeing these little tiny cuts show up right around here, around the inspection holes. Now, that really won't hurt the tire at all. You'd rather not have that happen, but these little cuts are the reason Martin had been cooling it earlier in the day. They had been waiting for rubber to build up on the racetrack before he really went flying. So they don't really have a tire problem per se, but they sure are watching the tires real close in the Roush pits.
Dick, just how thick is the tread depth of the rubber that they can run on those tires before a cut like that becomes a real problem?
Well, this cut, Mike, is not a problem at all because you look at it here, it's at about the depth of the inspection hole. So as such, it's not a problem. It becomes a problem if you lose enough of the rubber so it would knock the tire out of balance. And so far, we really haven't seen that. Nobody's really terribly worried about this so far. They are worried about the possibility of a sidewall failing if, for whatever reason, the tire pressure gets too low.
Thanks, Dick. Lead change in the making.
They're side by side down the front straightaway, and this will bring Rusty Wallace just behind them, right up on their back bumper. Rusty's been closing, and he brought the number 6 and Mark Martin with him.
And suddenly, it's a 4-car battle for the lead. From left to right, Jarrett, Little, you're on board with Rusty at our Miller Lite cam, and right behind him, Mark Martin, 4 Tauruses out front.
Dale Jarrett was kind of biding his time. He looked in the mirror and saw that 2 coming up behind him of Rusty Wallace and said, bye-bye, guys, I got to go. Well, you know, any racetrack that you run 200 miles an hour down the straightaway, I see David Green went very, very high in turn 2, but this draft over the front car creates a turbulence. It's like just cutting a hole through the air. The second car is riding in that vacuum, and when you come up on the side of the vacuum, it pulls that second car forward.
Dave Marcus makes a pit stop at 231 of 334 laps. Dale Jarrett, your new leader.
Toward the drama of the last 100 miles with 234 laps complete, 149 miles to go. You've had 9 leaders, 20 lead changes, and the average speed at 136.5. Individual laps at well over 180 miles per hour. 5 cautions thus far, and here are some of the drivers who have been caught up in crashes today in this second Texas 500. Ernie Irvin is out. John Andretti, Rick Mast, all retired early from that crash. In lap number 2, Hutch Strickland gone. Meanwhile, up in front, 4-car battle developing. There may be another new winner, or it could be Dale Jarrett. It could be Mark Martin. We'll see. Let's go back to Mike Joy with a call.
Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace have been battling for third position there while we were away. That spot changed hands.
Yeah, Rusty Wallace had gotten right up behind Chad Little in second place there. Come off turn 2 net, and he got a real push right towards the wall. Almost got into the outside wall, and Mark Martin got by.
He sure did. It just, as you say, the front end pushed up on him coming off of that turn, and he had to back off.
So here's Martin now right up against the back bumper of second place Chad Little, looking down to the inside, not taking a bite out of that grass this time. Let's show you the paths for third place. Just about 3 laps to go, right side of your screen. Mark Martin draws a bead on Rusty Wallace. It's close.
Michael, I want to make a point here. We talked about Jeremy Mayfield. He had to make that unscheduled pit stop a while back as these cars really getting heavy traffic, and he went 2 laps down. Now he's back on the lead lap. He's in 17th position, but the leaders are coming up on him now. He's not too far in front of them. Of course, he'll have a pit stop coming up here before too long because it's been a while since he made that pit stop.
He stopped at lap 178, Ned, when he had that right front tire cut down.
So he has run 62 laps since then, so he'll have a pit stop coming up before too long. He just would like to catch a caution before that would happen.
There's Jeremy coming down into pit road there.
Okay, he's coming in right now.
And he's way off sequence, as you said, and has lost a bit of right front fender. Now, that was likely damaged when that tire was cut down as he was leading the race.
Yes.
Also, Jeff Burton, who was the next leader to cut a right front tire and slap the wall in turn 3. Burton is back in the race. You're with Rusty Wallace. Ralph Shaheen.
Jeremy Mayfield's crew already over the wall, going to work on the car. They're going to make a chassis adjustment to the left side. They will change 4 tires. Remember, he has damage to that right front fender. They go to work on that as well. They clean off the windshield, pull off one of the strips of the windshield, get the tires on the left side. Mayfield, a very, very slow stop. Major problems with this. They're having more work on that right side where the fender was damaged and the tire letting go. An already slow stop getting even longer, Mike.
Yeah, Ralph, they had to tie down that right front fender. That NASCAR would not let him leave that flapping out there on the racetrack. A 48-second pit stop. For Jeremy Mayfield, this will put him 2 and perhaps 3 laps down. Dale Jarrett, your leader. There's the interval to the second place car. The green and yellow 97 of Chad Little has been passed by Mark Martin, number 6.
Okay.
And here's Rusty Wallace coming up for third place.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that Chad Little was in second, Mike, but that's not right. Mark Martin did pass him. Jarrett in heavy traffic. And right here's a battle for the 5th position. Johnny Benson has caught the car number 42 of Joe Nemechek. They're pretty far behind the leaders. As a matter of fact, they're about 10 seconds behind, but they're battling for their own positions there.
20 lead changes today. That's already 1 more than in the inaugural Texas 500 last year. Good bit of traffic as Kyle Petty dropped onto pit lane.
That's your leader, Dale Jarrett, coming up behind Wally Dallenbach as they head down into turn 1. He is in lap traffic right now. Bill Elliott's run very, very well all day, but you can see that Dale Jarrett is getting off the corner extremely well.
Remember Elliott, there's his red car with the golden arch on the hood. Had a lengthy pit stop, and that's dropped him to the tail end of the lead lap. About to be lapped by Dale Jarrett. For more on Jarrett, here's Ralph.
Well, his crew chief is Todd Parrott. Todd, you have worked on this car all day long. Is it finally where you need it to win this race?
Yeah, right now the car seems to be pretty good. I just don't know if we have enough gas or not. But the car seems to be good. It's got a little less than 100 laps to go. We'll just see what happens.
How close do you think you're going to be on fuel?
I don't think it's going to be close enough to gamble right now anyway. But we got a good driver. He can save a little bit of fuel. Never know what might happen.
Now, what he's talking about is if this thing goes green the rest of the way, they got to make another pit stop. But can they stretch it far enough so they can make that last run on a tank of fuel?
I think so, Ned. With 87 laps to go right now, anyone who stopped from here on would probably make it.
Well, I don't know. I don't think they can go much over about 70 laps.
I'm sorry, 87 laps. I'm about 10 off here.
Yeah.
You're quite right. It'll depend on when they stop. You're watching the leaders, Dale Jarrett and Mark Martin. CBS Sports coverage of the Texas 500 will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Mike Skinner crashed here in the dogleg coming off turn number 4. Rode the front stretch wall down to a halt near the start-finish line. You see Skinner is okay. Caution is out.
Mike Skinner got hurt in Atlanta with a crash on the outside wall. You can see him getting his breath back there. He's sitting on the windowsill of the race car.
Doesn't take more than hammer and nails to fix that one. He has used up the right side.
He really has. He's that wall hard. You mentioned Rusty Wallace had come into the pits. The crew very alertly just changed 2 tires, got him back out. He stayed on the lead lap.
Now, Ned, as I misspoke before we went to break, at 87 laps to go, I'm afraid I was thinking miles they could make it from there. According to our pit stop window of 60 to 70 laps, drivers would have to wait to lap 264 to pit to have a good chance of going the distance.
And we're completing lap 252 right now, so I don't believe that they can make it from here on.
Mike Skinner complaining of a sore neck, a brace put on, but he's standing talking to the caregivers there at the scene. Ralph?
Dale Jarrett brings his car to a stop. They go to work on the tires. They will change 4, but the big thing is the fuel. They will take every bit of fuel that they possibly can. 1 can in, 2 cans in. No chassis changes, Dick Berggren.
No chassis changes on Mark Martin's car either. Oh, Jarrett just beats him out. Jarrett's going to assume the lead when the green comes back out again. No chassis changes on Mark Martin's car either, but they were having some conversation about tire pressure. It is the discussion of the day down here.
Track position on pit stops becomes very important here. And again, according to our calculations, it would not be possible to go the distance from this fuel stop. Let's show you what happened to Mike Skinner while we were away. Skinner was running about 2 laps down, but just outside the top 20.
Wow. Apparently he had a tire let go. Something happened on the right front of that car, and it just shot up into the wall. You can see how hard he hit. It really just bashed that right side, the right front in particular. Way hits it again.
Skinner, the former Craftsman Truck Series champion, driving that second Richard Childress car.
Well, that was not a good place to have something to go wrong as he was coming off facing that wall already, and then just go up and hit it that hard.
And Ned, it shows that when you run down on that bottom line of the racetrack and something happens, that concrete's a long way away. Skinner got the bad luck. Jeremy Mayfield had his tire go down on the straightaway and still in contention.
Mike, you could see just a very small piece of that patch right there had come up. There's nothing to worry about, but there's a piece from right there that's kind of worked its way out of the pavement itself.
Now, as we showed you earlier, they cut the asphalt for drainage so that any water seepage would drain that way, and a little bit of asphalt lifted up. That's hot patch right there, the really dark part of that asphalt that was added this morning. So that part of the track still in pretty good shape here. 253 laps complete. Laps wind down. We're back under caution. We'll be right back. The 6th of the day. Dale Jarrett leads Mark Martin and Chad Little. Joe Nemechek, Jimmy Spencer, the front 5.
Wow.
Can't wait. We're under caution here at Texas for the 6th time today. We'll be right back. Are complete. Jeremy Mayfield has been in and out of the pit several times on this caution to repair that right front fender. His last stop at lap 256 means he would have to run 78 laps to the finish on this tank of fuel. As you watch from our Mobile One cam, David Green stopping to top off, and we'll go back racing in a lap. Bobby Labonte, Kenny Schrader is in. So is Ward Burton, Ricky Rudd, Bobby Hamilton, Dale Earnhardt, and last year's winner, Jeff Burton.
And Mike, I'd say these cars right here are thinking that they can go the rest of the way. They're coming in and popping that fuel off. They'll gamble.
Splash and go to gamble on track position.
Ken Schrader would be included in that group.
Yes. 14 cars on the lead lap as you watch from Dale Earnhardt, whose car was taken out of contention in that lap 2 crash. Earnhardt was then posted 43rd. He is up to 37th place. If he completes about 7 more laps, he'll eclipse Greg Sachs and move up another notch. Bill Elliott was on the lead lap most of the day, got lapped just prior to this caution. He is in 15th place, 1 lap behind, as you watch from our First Plus financial cam. Randy LaJoie got in a bump with Ted Musgrave down in turn number 3 after spinning to miss the lap 2 crash, and LaJoie has made numerous pit stops. The Budweiser cam shows you that look. And Mark Martin started 7th, currently in 2nd place as we get set to go back to green. Jarrett, Martin, Chad Little, Joe Nemechek, Jimmy Spencer, the front 5. Laps to go. That's outside our fuel window, but another caution flag could make it enough.
Wow, 3 wide going into turn 3. Mark Martin got caught up on the outside there.
Wally Dallenbach, 46 on the left of your screen, took a spot from Bill Elliott.
Chad Little there in the green car. The second green car, the green and yellow car there, made a bold move going into turn 3. He's after his teammate there, Mark Martin.
As you watch the cars move around this 1.5-mile quad oval, you'll see that turn 1 is in shade. The rest of the track in sunlight.
And when that turn gets in shade down there is where we've been having problems with that seepage the last few days, but it has been later in the day. Not much later than we're seeing it here right now, but all the cars out there, they dried out pretty quickly, even if there's seepage now.
There's the shadow in turn number 1 from the grandstand and suites. On the inside, that's Chad Little moving past Dallenbach.
And just behind them, Jimmy Spencer has moved all the way up to 5th place in the 23 car. And just behind him, Nemechek in the 42.
Nemechek got caught behind the 46 car, and Dallenbach coming through that corner, so that's going to cost him a little bit of time.
Riding with Bill Elliott, looking back at Jimmy Spencer, who's on the lead lap. Remember that yesterday, the seepage in turn 1 was occasioned after about a 30-minute hold following the Busch Grand National race before the final Winston Cup practice, which was then canceled. We've had continuous running, tires running over that area, keeping the track surface hot, and we do not anticipate having a problem there today.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a problem.
Jimmy Spencer's moved into 4th place, doing a fine job today. Been very patient, but when it's counting right now, he's moved himself into good contention here.
Spencer started 39. Up front, it's Dale Jarrett. Ralph?
Mike, I took a look at Dale Jarrett's last set of tires as they came off the car on that last round of pit stops. He's got those little cuts too, as Dick Burton was pointing out before. I spoke to the Goodyear tire technicians about what they call smileys because of their little hook design. They said on Dale Jarrett's car, they're not deep enough yet for them to be worried, but they are definitely there.
Ralph, do they have any idea what's causing them? Is it the abrasiveness of the racetrack? What?
Too much grip, Mike. As the car goes into the corner, it slides up on the track, and this racetrack apparently has good grip on the tire, and it's pulling out rubber is what it's doing. It's actually just pulling it off the tire. They say that is what's happening to it, and that's what causes those smileys.
Sounds, Ned, like if you push down too hard on a pencil eraser and drag it across the paper, you can tear the rubber in the eraser.
That's exactly what happens. And these tires, the radial tires, do get tremendous grip on relatively new asphalt like this is. It really puts the strain on the tires.
It puts a lot of strain on the tire, but the real problem there is the heat buildup actually pops that rubber out like that. We used to call them blisters, now they call them smileys.
Dale Jarrett is opening up a lead as he comes past the start-finish line to complete 266 laps. 1.7 seconds over Chad Little. Mark Martin about 3 car lengths behind Little.
Well,
and
actually,
a gap to Spencer.
On the last lap, before this last lap, Mike, Jarrett was 1.9 seconds behind, so Chad Little did pick up a little bit. Jarrett up most of that lead on the first lap because he got by the lap traffic going into turn 1. Mark Martin was running second at the time. He got caught up on the outside of lap traffic, and it really cost him a lot of time.
Right behind these front 3, Jimmy Spencer looms in 4th and closing. Bill Stevens is in his 5th.
I'm with Donnie Wingo, the crew chief. You started 39th, you're 4th, but the question is, you have to come in again before the end.
Yeah, I don't think we can quite make it on gas. We're going to come up about 4 or 5 laps short, looks like. But, you know, Jimmy's done a good job today. He's been patient all day and stayed out of trouble. Kind of worked his way to the front. Now we'll see what we can do.
Patient and Jimmy Spencer, is that an oxymoron?
No, Jimmy's a smart guy.
Yeah. And he's got a very smart crew chief, too.
Yes, he does. And he's closing. Spencer is 3.2 seconds behind the leader.
And Chad Little is also closing. He slows it down to 1.44 the last time around. So he's picking up about 1/10 of a second a lap.
There's the gap. Dale Jarrett to his closest pursuers, Chad Little and Mark Martin. And Spencer about another 2 seconds behind them.
Mark Martin just behind the second place battle there. You can tell in the corner Mark has a very, very fast race car. He closes up. You can see Chad's car starting to move out. He pulls it back down as he starts off the corner. Mark Martin looks like his car is perfect.
Let's go trackside to Ken Squire.
We are into that last 100 miles, and we are truly into the twilight zone. As you heard Ned say a few moments ago, we don't think there'll be a problem down here in the shadow of turn 1. But no one knows. 2 days ago, this is the time when time trials were stopped after only 9 cars. Yesterday, this was the time for that last chance practice. It was canceled. So we are in the twilight zone right now. Everyone has said, hypothetically, as long as you keep cars running on this service, everything will be okay. We'll see from now to the finish. 270 laps now complete. 95 miles left to go. Mike?
Into the countdown laps, Ken, and the big question is, will some of these drivers have to pit again for fuel? We'll be back to Texas after this.
6 cautions, many of them biggies. Back in the garage area, 9 automobiles destroyed. Urban, Andretti, Nass, Strickland in the early incident. And there you see the rest of the story. Darrell Waltrip has pulled it off finally. Skinner crashing just moments ago here in the main straightaway. And Jeff Bodine's ignition has failed. Building for the drama of the finish. In the second Texas 500, Jarrett leading, Little second, Martin third. Once again, here's Mike Joy.
Thanks, Ken. Ward Burton has made a pit stop under green. He can go the distance from here, we believe, with the Bill Davis number 22. And I was kidding with Bill Stevens a bit ago. Oxymoron is one word, folks. It describes 2 words that are used together but don't go together, like Spencer and patience, perhaps, is the point Bill was making.
Well, talk about patience. These 2 guys have been going at it here. Joe Nemechek, Robert Presley, and just behind them, Johnny Benson. Look at Presley's clothes right up on his back bumper. Gives him a little scoot there coming off turn 4.
He was Nemechek's back bumper right then. They're racing for 5th place.
And here's the lead battle for the lead.
Chad Little inside of Dale Jarrett, who will have to give way. And Chad Little goes back in front.
Don't know if Jarrett has backed off and conserving fuel, but he's really backed his lap speed off here in the last half a dozen laps.
Mark Martin closes right in. There's the 3rd place car. Ford's in the first 3 spots. Roush, Yates, and Roush, the owners. Actually, it's Jack Roush's mom is listed as the owner of Chad Little's car. NASCAR allows each individual to own only 2 race teams. So it's his mom's car.
Here's that battle again.
Presley 77 inside, and he's going to move up past Nemechek. 2 more Fords forged to the front. And here comes Rusty.
Johnny Benson going behind the 26 on the bottom. Nemechek very loose coming off turn 4.
You watch from Rusty Wallace as they battle on from 5th on back. Rusty had a good run, but Nemechek closed off the bottom lane.
Well, those guys are racing hard.
I don't think Nemechek Chevrolet is very race friendly when you get a car directly behind it. He turned sideways off the corner just a second ago. Rusty had to check up to keep from running into him in the other corner.
Battle for second spot as Mark Martin is closed up on Dale Jarrett.
I might be wrong, but I believe Jarrett is really conserving fuel right now. That's going to be a long way to go from when he made his pit stop, but I believe that's what he's doing right now.
Ralph Sheen.
Well, there's actually two reasons why he is backing off. One is to conserve fuel. You're exactly right, Nat. Their calculations right now, according to Brad Parrott, who does all the fuel calculations, is that if he pushes, he'll come up about 10 laps short. So he's trying to conserve that. The other reason, he was starting to feel a minor vibration in the right front tire. He's trying to ease off those tires, save them so that he's got not only fuel, but tires left at the end.
Dick Berggren.
Jeff Hammond has won 43 times as a Winston Cup crew chief. Every one of those times was with driver Darrell Waltrip. But today, with Chad Little as his driver, Jeff Hammond is in the lead. You guys got enough stuff to win this thing and bring Chad home a first-time winner?
Well, I got news for you, Dick. I think a lot has to have to do with that John Deere Ford out there and Chad Little. Right now, he's getting the job done, and I hope he can. You know, if we don't, you know, we just put on a heck of a run here today, and I'm just so proud of this team. I don't know what to say about it. I'm just so happy to be with Roush Racing right now. I don't know. I'm ecstatic.
Do you have to stop again?
Yeah, we're going to be a little bit short on fuel. I don't think anybody can go all the way, so everybody's pretty much in the same boat. So, you know, we're kind of like playing that poker game right now, and we don't want to let anybody see our hands if we can. We don't know whether it's going to be gas and go, 2 tires. We got to kind of wait to see how the whole scenario develops. We've been catching a lot of good breaks today. And Chad Little's been doing a great job behind the wheel. You know, all the guys have just really worked really hard here today. I hope we get this one because they really earned it.
It's going to be a fun finish to Bill Stevens.
Dick, one of the advantages of a multi-car team. Just a little while ago, Jack Roush said, since Ted Musgrave is out of contention, we'll use his car to scuff tires for Mark Martin toward the end of the race. That could be a factor. Ken Squire.
What vindication for Jeff Hammond, fired earlier this season. He was taking some jobs on radio. He was looking for things to do. Roush puts him in here with Chad Little, and boom, they're up in front, battling with the very best. Here they come against Jarrett and Martin. Chad Little has never had this kind of an experience in Winston Cup racing, and Jeff Hammond can take a great deal of the credit. Mike?
One pit stop to go, Ken. Chad Little in the lead. Tonight on CBS. Where in the world do they still subject kids to cruel and inhumane treatment in forced labor camps? In the former Soviet Union. That's 60 Minutes tonight. Followed by Touched by an Angel and the CBS Sunday night movie The Patron Saint of Liars, starring Dana Delaney and Ellen Burstyn. Chad Little leads Dale Jarrett, Mark Martin, Jimmy Spencer, and Robert Presley. One fuel stop remains. CBS Sports coverage of the Texas 500 continues after this message and a word from your local station. Texas at Bruton Smith's beautiful speed plant, Texas Motor Speedway. And after 291 laps, Chad Little leads Dale Jarrett and Mark Martin. Fords are in the first 6 positions ahead of Joe Nemechek's Chevrolet. A lap 2 crash knocked 10 cars out of the race, 4 of which went to the garage. The rest continued after damage repair. Other cautions, lap 30, a NASCAR caution because of no practice yesterday afternoon, so the teams could check tires and setups. Kenny Irwin's crash brought out the yellow, so did Ted Musgrave's, Greg Sachs, and Mike Skinner's, all single car incidents. We've had a long green flag run since lap 251, 42 laps ago. And only Ward Burton can go the rest of the way on the tank of gas he now has. Burton came into the pits at lap 276.
But he is 2 laps down, Mike. I think he had a flat tire when he came into pits. And so he's a couple of laps down. Even if these cars have to make a pit stop, they should finish ahead of him.
Chad Little, the green and yellow machine, ahead of Dale Jarrett and Mark Martin. And for more on track conditions, here's Ralph.
My crew chief Todd Parrott radioed out to his driver Dale Jarrett to get a report on the track conditions. Dale said, I don't hear those little granules clinking up underneath the car as Buddy Baker described earlier this morning, but he still feels the big bump on the racetrack down in 3 and 4.
Buddy, we talked before the break about scuffing tires.
Yeah, you know, when you say you scuff the tires, let me explain what they're actually doing. They're putting the tires through a heat cycle. When you run them, it heats the rubber up. You pull them off the car that you scuff them on, and they actually harden up and get a little better for long runs. And you also get to check them for good sets. So it's a real important thing to be able to scuff tires before an event.
4th place, Robert Presley moves up into a position equaling his career best as he passes Jimmy Spencer.
They're running about 9 seconds behind the leader.
Jarrett now 6/10 behind Chad Little, but Little has traffic to deal with here. Dale Earnhardt. And here's Joe Nemechek, being challenged by Rusty Wallace.
Yeah, Rusty Wallace made a stop a while ago and got out of sequence with track position. Now he's trying to get back up in with the front leader. And right there is your 7th place car. Rusty Wallace wants that position and wants to get back up front.
Wallace was 33rd last week at Bristol. The first race he's finished out of the top 5 all season. He is currently shown in 8th.
Here are the 11th and 12th place cars. Steve Grissom in the white and green number 41, and Michael Waltrip in the number 21.
Waltrip was leading this race, Ned, and was the last of the race leaders to pit under the last green flag pit stop sequence.
So Michael having a good day here in the Wood Brothers Ford. Stayed right up on the lead lap all day.
The safety fuel cells in these cars hold 22 gallons of fuel. The cars get about 5 miles per gallon, 4.5 to 5 miles per gallon. But the fuel pickup cannot get to all of those 22 gallons. So it means the teams can go in the range of 100 miles on a tank of gas.
Now, we talked about we didn't think anybody else but Ward Burton could make it. Now, remember that Bobby Labonte, Ken Schrader, and somebody else came in there, topped their fuel tanks off right there at the end, that last caution. So, you know, those cars, they're going easy out there now. I think that they're going to try to make it. Now, whether they can or not, that's different.
Ned, those cars include Jeremy Mayfield, David Green, Bobby Labonte, Ward Burton, along with Ricky Rudd, Ken Schrader, and Bobby Hamilton.
And this is the battle for 5th right here. Jimmy Spencer running in 5th. And here comes Johnny Benson in the number 26, making a fight out of this thing.
Boy, what a season Benson's had. Tough break at Daytona. Did not make the Daytona 500. First race with a new team. Had to be a tough one to take. But he has come back with a vengeance. 30th at Rockingham, and then 4 top 10 finishes. 2 of those in the top 5.
Climbed all the way up to 13th in the points.
Great gains for Johnny Benson. Ken?
50 miles to go. 1 year ago, the first Texas 500, the big upset for the Virginian. Jeff Burton winning here. Will it be the same situation for Chad Little from Spokane, Washington today? Or will number 88, Dale Jarrett, continue to roll through this field? He is mired in 9th place in the point standings. Jeff Burton's just 7 points in front of him in 8th. He could make a big jump in the points. Or will Mark Martin come through? And let's not forget that Jimmy Spencer lies just 11 seconds back. Here comes what could be a caution flag now.
Dave Marcus has lost a motor and skitters off into turn number 1, oiling down the track surface.
Dave Marcus was able to get to the outside of the racetrack and not oil up the racing surface itself, the lower part of the corners there.
Caution is out. And Ken Schrader may have banged the wall coming through.
Kyle Petty gets a lap back. Ward Burton trying to, but didn't make it.
As they race the leader back to the caution flag, Ward Burton, who stopped with a cut tire earlier, unable to gain back on the lead lap. You see Chad Little going past him to reestablish the order as the pace car picks up the field, and the right front is down on Ken Schrader's Andy Petrie Chevrolet.
Did he hit the oil, or did he run over something and cut the tire? Did the tire go flat as a result of him hitting the wall, or did he run over something and cut it and caused him to get into the wall?
Not sure. I think that's car owner Andy Petrie changing the right front tire.
Yeah, he's still a good tire changer. That's how he came into this business. Working for Junior Johnson as a tire changer.
Pull out the sheet metal for tire clearance. And he's looking to the left for the rest of the field coming around, making sure Schrader does not lose another lap.
Well, the fuel strategy now has gone out the window.
Yeah, we're just fixing to say, we're going to see who has the real muscle now. With just a few laps left here, it's going to be a fun race to watch.
12 cars are on the lead lap, and we expect that they will all stop.
Yeah, they're coming down pit road right now.
31 laps left to go in Texas. We'll be right back. The Texas 500 is under caution for the 7th time for 2 incidents that turn out to be unrelated. Ken Schrader and Dave Marcus both come to grief. Here is Schrader, turn 4.
Right front goes flat hard into the outside wall, coming off turn 4.
And Dave Marcus.
Something happens to his engine, apparently, as you see all of that smoke as it goes down into turn 1. He does get it up out of the groove, drives it up next to the wall. See those cars going by down on the inside.
That's Chad Little, your race leader, right under Marcus there.
Another look here at Marcus's number 71, running in only its 2nd start of the season. He's attempted to qualify for each race. And something lets go. Dumps a lot of oil on the hot parts of the engine and chassis, and a lot of smoke. .29 laps to go. CBS Sports coverage of the Texas 500 will continue after this word from your local station. Chad Little, Robert Presley lined up 3rd. The Chevy of Joe Nemechek. Dale Jarrett, Johnny Benson in Fords. Terry Labonte in a Chevy. Jimmy Spencer's Ford. Bobby Labonte's Pontiac. Michael Waltrip, Steve Grissom, Rusty Wallace are the top 12, and they are the 12 cars on the lead lap. As you look over this crowd, 200,000 strong, and look outside the actual Speedway, you see some of the $100 million Bruton Smith has spent since building this track in improvements. More paved parking spaces than the Magic Kingdom. Enough gravel roadways around the property to drive to Oklahoma. All to help ease the traffic congestion we had here last year, and it's working. $250,000 in overhead signage on the property for people to pick the correct lane for where they're headed. Brand new condominium in turn 2, and a Speedway club to go right alongside. 72 condominiums, 66 sold, range of $300,000 to $625,000, and the place just keeps growing. Right now, 150,000 seats and a packed infield. We'll be right back to Texas Motor Speedway after this. What happened on these final pit stops? Let's start with Dick Berggren.
An awful lot happened on the final pit stops, and it may determine the outcome of this race, Mike. Chad Little came in as the leader. He came out 2nd. He took 2 tires. Mark Martin also took 2 tires. Rusty Wallace gambled that 4 fresh tires was going to help him, but he got caught speeding on pit road and shoved to the back of the line. Dale Jarrett took 4. Robert Presley took 2. Nemechek took 2 as well. Ralph, what happened near you?
Well, Dick, as you said, Dale Jarrett took 4 tires. He was a little loose. They went half a pound down on the air pressure on the left side. The biggest thing with Dale Jarrett is he wants to get back to green and go racing. With 4 tires, he's hoping to wear out the other drivers with just 2 tires on the car. The more yellows, the better the advantage is for the drivers with 2 tires, Bill Stevens.
Jimmy Spencer came in and took 4 tires, but I got to tell you, the right rear tire was really hammered. A lot of blistering on that tire. In fact, they took it off the car and spirited it away. Before they did, I got a good look at it, and let me tell you, he was running up front, and if that tire went, he'd have picked up the check for the whole table.
Guys, Dale Jarrett has 4 tires, which should give him an advantage, but the disadvantage is going to be, see where he is back there in that line? He's on the 5th row outside. He has to get by all those lap cars. Martin's going to be gone before he can get up there.
Here they come. We're back under green. sheet metal exchange there. There's Martin getting away. Chad Little trying to clear Bill Elliott. They're too wide into turn one.
Chad Little has to go right now. He can't wait on Bill Elliott to give him that inside line. He's trying to fight back on the outside down the back straightaway. Bill Elliott side by side with him. Looks like Chad Little has that spot.
Little clears Bill Elliott. Presley, Nemechek with 2 tires. Jarrett, Benson, Labonte, and Spencer with 4 back behind them. From leader Mark Martin. In the shade, back in the sun at turn 2. Big lead.
You heard them say they took a couple of pounds of air pressure out of the left side tire. That makes it hold that much better. The cars with the 4 tires should work a little bit better than the ones with 2, but they do have bad track position.
That's the problem that 4 tire guys have, is that bad track position. It's got to get by those cars, and it's hard to do. Jarrett now comes in on the inside of Nemechek.
And he's going to get him going into turn number 1. Nemechek drops in line behind Dale Jarrett. That 4-tire stop strategy late in the race, it worked yesterday for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Will it work today for Dale Jarrett?
Jarrett in 4th right now, down the back straightaway. You can see he's pulled out about a 5-car length lead over the Nemechek as they head down through the corner there. Johnny Benson in the yellow car is coming up on Nemechek now. Just in front of those guys, Robert Presley in the 77 car.
Chad Little is no match for Mark Martin. You see Bill Elliott locked right on the back of Little's green car. The gap is 66 hundredths of a second. Watching for Bill Elliott, who is 1 lap down in 13th position. Jarrett is closing on Robert Presley for 3rd place.
Actually, he's closing on Mark Martin. Mike, he's picked up over 0.2 of a second on him, but he's got 3 good race cars to pass before he can get up there, and that's going to cost him some time.
Robert Presley's having a career day. Here's the pack right behind them.
That's Bobby Labonte in the green car there. He's in 7th spot right now.
Leaders off turn 4. And now Chad Little is reeling in Mark Martin.
Yes,
it was half a second a lap ago. He knocked 1/10 of a second off that. This time, 19 laps to go.
Chad Little winless in Winston Cup racing. He's chasing a guy that's had a lot of success. Mark Martin, a teammate. But let me tell you, there's no teams when 10 laps come.
4 of the first 6 drivers have never won a Winston Cup race. This is a track we said earlier favors first-time winners. Dale Earnhardt Jr. yesterday, Jeff Burton 1 year ago. 18 laps. One driver will really like this track.
Looking back for Mark Martin off turn 2. You can see Chad Little coming on. He's closing the gap a little.
Down to 0.4 of a second. Robert Presley 1.5 seconds behind the lead. Dale Jarrett right in his tire tracks and challenging Presley. Then it's a long gap back to Nemechek, Benson, Terry Labonte, and Spencer. There's that battle for 3rd. Boy, Presley's hanging tough right on the bottom of the racetrack.
Yes, he is, and that's allowed Mark Martin to pull away. Jarrett had closed in on him those first couple of laps, but now Martin has pulled away from both Presley and Jarrett.
And the gap increases just a bit, half a second. 15 laps to go.
That sounds like just a few laps, but that's a lot of racing. You can make a bunch of mistakes. You see Chad Little right now. He's pulled it down to about a 10-car length lead.
Update on Greg Sachs. He's been admitted to Parkland Memorial Hospital in Dallas. Will be kept overnight for observation. Mike Skinner, who hit the front stretch wall, still being attended to in the infield care center. Of a second. Chad Little gained a 10th that lap on Mark Martin.
Chad, a former NASCAR Winston West Series champion. He knows what winning is. He's won in the Busch Series as well, but never in Winston Cup.
Mike, this is exciting. This battle for third and fourth right now. You see Jarrett looking to the inside of Presley, down through the dog leg.
14 laps to go. Those 4 fresh tires Dale Jarrett took on, he hoped would rocket into the front. It's been a bumpy ride.
Yes, it has. It's not working for him right now. He got up to Presley, but that's as far as he could go.
There is the interval. Left side of your screen, Martin.
Martin got caught by a lap traffic car there, but so did Chad Little, so it wasn't that big a deficit as he went by, but Chad Little has pulled it down to about 6 car lengths now.
They'll have a couple of packs of traffic to get to before this one's over. 13 to go. 12 cars on the lead lap. Martin, Little, Presley, Jarrett, Nemechek in 5th. And here comes Jarrett looking inside of Presley.
No, he couldn't make it. He shut the door on him going into turn 3. Now you see Dale Jarrett really applying the pressure as they come off turn 4.
But Robert Presley's withstanding that pressure, fighting for the best position he's ever had in NASCAR Winston Cup racing. Never finished as high as third. He wants to hold on to that.
Kenny Wallace has gone to the garage. Tough day. He was involved in that early wreck on lap 2. Third place battle going on here. 2.5 seconds behind the leader, Mark Martin.
Yeah, they're losing ground too, Mark Martin. He's pulling away while they're racing back there for this position.
6th is Johnny Benson. 7th, Terry Labonte. 8th, Jimmy Spencer. 9th, Bobby Labonte. 10th, Michael Waltrip. Then Steve Grissom and Rusty Wallace. You saw the damaged cars of Jeff Gordon and Kevin LePage go down to the track apron. They want to continue to put on laps, but they do not want to be part of this battle in its closing stages. Third and fourth, Presley and Jarrett. As they come around, it will be 10 laps to go in Texas. And now that battle is 2.8 seconds behind Mark Martin, who has opened up 0.8 of a second on Chad Little.
The pit strategy has worked. Those guys taking on 2 tires. We said back there earlier it didn't seem to be working as well today as it did in Busch competition yesterday, but it's worked right now.
Dick Berggren.
Well, Jack Roush owns the cars that are in first place and second place. You care which one of those 2 guys wins?
No, I don't care. I was real nervous. You know, we called for 2 tires. I was afraid the guys that took 4 tires behind us would get us. Unless we have a problem because we didn't put brand new tires on, then we should be fine. Cars are running really good. The 99 was good. 26 has run pretty good. 16 had a problem early. Roush Racing's had a great day.
Sure has, and Jack Roush has about worn his shoes out running back and forth between his various teams.
I'll bet. Another fella having a career day is Chad Little. His best career finish to date was 7th in this February's Daytona 500. He's in the runner-up spot. He's never run 2nd. Robert Presley's never run as high as 3rd.
Bill Elliott just pulled down out of the way and let Jarrett and Robert Presley go by. He didn't want to interfere with that battle that they were having there. Good sportsmanship.
7 laps to go.
And he's moving in, buddy.
Chad Little has closed it down to about a 4-car length lead right now for Mark Martin. Chad Little's given it everything it's worth. Never a winner in Winston Cup racing, but he's got her strung out today.
Their Roush Racing stablemate Jeff Burton, last year's winner. That car damaged earlier. Pulls down to the inside. The 2 leaders will be traffic free. Only Kevin LePage is out ahead of them.
Robert Presley has pulled way ahead of Dale Jarrett. Jarrett has backed off for some reason after he got by Bill Elliott.
Half a second apart are the 2 leaders. Bill Stevens.
Well, Jack Roush and Jeff Hammond may be calling the shot strategy-wise, but right now Chad Little's spotter is saying very little on the radio except, you got it in ya.
There is Jarrett behind Bill Elliott.
Bill Elliott went back by Jarrett. Don't know if something has happened to Jarrett's Ford. What's going on, Ralph?
Ned, he's too tight. He's not going to be able to get him. The car's tightening up with each lap.
Ted Musgrave has gone to the garage, gained all the positions he could from the laps that he's run with the damaged race car from 2 incidents. 5 laps to go. Chad Little will have the biggest day of his Winston Cup career. It could be bigger if he can get past Mark Martin.
Mike, I'm not positive. I believe Dale Jarrett's car may be skipping some. When he come by, it had a funny sound, and Nemechek is closing in on his back bumper as we speak.
Yeah, he's losing the speed on the straightaway, not in the turns.
Here goes Nemechek by him. Here goes Johnny Benson. Picks up a spot, so Benson moves up the board to 5th. Mike Skinner has been taken to Parkland Memorial Hospital. Possible broken shoulder. We want to take him for x-rays. Right shoulder blade on Skinner. 3 laps to go. Mark Martin, the Las Vegas winner, your race leader. His teammate, Chad Little, running a career best day. Half a second behind the race leader in 2nd place. Robert Presley, also a career best day. He is 3rd. Joe Nemechek Chevrolet is 4th. Johnny Benson in 5th. Terry Labonte's moved up to 6th. Jimmy Spencer 7th over a fading Dale Jarrett. 2 laps to go.
2 laps to go. Mark Martin looks like he has this thing under control, but I guarantee you that Chad Little is giving it everything he can right now as they come towards the white flag lap.
And Little is closing 0.4 of a second. Last lap into the tri-oval. White flag in the air. Same gap as they go back to turn 1. No traffic ahead. Mark Martin, veteran of the Roush team. Chad Little just joined it this year. Roush had all 5 cars in the top 10 once already this year. 4 in the top 10 another time. He's going to get a 1-2 finish. Mark Martin wins the Texas 500. Chad Little finishes 2nd.
Robert Presley, Joe Nemechek, Johnny Benson, Terry Labonte, 4 Fords, 2 Chevys in the top 6. Jimmy Spencer, then Bobby Labonte's Pontiac, Michael Waltrip, Steve Grissom, Dale Jarrett, and Rusty Wallace all finish on the lead lap. There's the happiest guy in Texas, Chad Little.
Yeah, great run.
Chad took the window screen down in the left window there so he could wave to the winner, Mark Martin, his teammate.
There's his lap, Donna.
2nd place. Career best for Chad Little. This man knows the way to victory lane. Mark Martin, 25th career win. That's 4 times today for a total of 37 laps. Jeremy Mayfield, who led much of the day and sat on the pole, ended up a lap down in 23rd. 3 laps down, rather. Finishing a lap down, Bill Elliott, Sterling Marlin. 2 laps back were Ward Burton, Brett Bodine, Kyle Petty, David Green, Wally Dollenbach, Lake Speed, and Ken Schrader. 3 laps down, Dick Trickle, Jeremy Mayfield, and Gary Bradbury. Randy LaJoie, 25th. Then Bobby Hamilton, Ricky Rudd, Dave Marcus, Jeff Burton, and Ted Musgrave, 30th. A look at the Winston Cup points. Rusty Wallace expands his lead over teammate Mayfield. They came in 1 point apart. Now it's 24. Terry Labonte up to 3rd. As you look through the top dozen in the Winston Cup standing,
Dale Earnhardt dropped all the way to 9th with his problems he had today, Mike.
Earnhardt involved in that lap 2 crash, as were 9 other cars. Ted Musgrave, Jeff Gordon among the last cars running. Earnhardt and Kevin LePage. 2nd win this season for Mark Martin, who also took the checkered flag in Las Vegas.
That was another big paying event. More than $4 million in prize money here, so he's winning the big one.
Ken Squires in victory lane.
And we're down here with Mark Martin, who's just done it, made a big jump in the points from 7th spot. Mark, congratulations. What a beautiful ride.
Woo, man, that's unreal. You know, thanks to Valvoline Cummins, Bugle Bosch, Goodyear had a good tire today, and we didn't have one bit of trouble. And this Ford Taurus is on the money. I never stepped on it till the last go-round. Didn't want to take a chance.
You had great track position.
We did. We needed it. We had a fast car, but it was real difficult to pass here today. And Matt, I love you. I wish you was here. Harleen, I'll be home tonight. Miss you guys.
Okay, now what about the track? What did you think of the track?
I love we won. That was great.
All right, that's the story from the winner of the Texas 500. Arkansas's Mark Martin. Here's Mike Joy.
Mark Martin beat Chad Little and Robert Presley, who have a career best. Nemechek, Benson, the top 5. A look back through the top dozen. They all finished on the lead lap today. 2 cars, 1 lap down. These other drivers, 2 laps back, as you have a look back through the field. What a wild ride on Bruton Smith's new Speedway. Gets his second Winston Cup race. Controversy. Practice canceled, seepage through the track, but race day, it was the drivers bouncing off each other and not the track causing trouble.
Mike, we had a narrow groove in the corners, but the racetrack never posed a problem to the drivers today.
For Ken Squire, Ned Jarrett, Buddy Baker, Dick Berggren, Ralph Shaheen, and Bill Stevens, I'm Mike Joy saying so long from Texas Motor Speedway, where Mark Martin has won the Texas 500.